Chapter 8:16. The Sun family invites too. My dear three old ancestors, the three of them died unjustly. They actually died at the hands of a junior from the Lung family, whose name has yet to change. That junior harmed his own clansmen, and should be punished by the clan rules. I hope the three old ancestors can understand, the old man said stubbornly. In fact, it was not that he had a good relationship with Lung Feng. He was just planning for himself. How can a junior who can kill the three of them be nameless? Lung Xiaoxiao asked curiously. Yes, I heard that junior came from the lower realm, and doesn't have any status. However, she has someone backing her up, so she dared to kill Lung Feng's grandfather and granddaughter. The old man looked at Lung Qianye and said resolutely, Lung Hua, are you talking about me as your backer? Lung Qianye said with a spurious smile. A perfect smile remained on his handsome face as he said without anger. Humph. What do you think? Lung Hua sneered. How would I know? Lung Qianye said nonchalantly. This old man's seniority was not as high as his, but he always liked to treat himself as an imaginary enemy. He had never liked to use his seniority to pressure others. Therefore, not many in the clan knew his true seniority. Many people only knew that his seniority was high, but they did not know how high it was. This old man was like that. You. Lung Hua was furious. He didn't expect Lung Qianye to actually dare to play dirty in front of the three largest ancestors of the Lung family. However, he was a little gloating because this meant that Lung Qianye would have a bad impression of the ancestors, and this was very beneficial to him. What about me? What I want to say is that she doesn't need my support at all. Her beasts alone are enough to make Lung Feng's grandfather and granddaughter suffer. Lung Qianye narrowed his eyes and said with a light smile. Well, it was no longer a secret in the Lung family that Lung Wuxia had many beasts, so he was not afraid of these people knowing. He just hoped that some people would be a little afraid and not risk their lives. Humph. That little girl was not him. She would care about the ties of her clansmen. If he really angered that girl, she would definitely be a heartless person. Beasts. Our Lung family has so many mystic supremacies. Would we be afraid of a few transcendent divine beasts? Lung Hua said nonchalantly. He had also heard about Lung Wuxia having many beasts. However, he didn't take it to heart out of confidence in his family. If you're not afraid, go ahead and find trouble with them. I won't stop you, nor will I collect your corpses. Lung Qianye said venomously because he knew that the little red bird beside Shuer wouldn't prepare the Lung family's corpses at all. It would destroy the corpse directly with a fire. Isn't the Grand Elder exaggerating too much to scare us? She's just a little girl. How much power can she have? I don't believe we can't deal with a little girl as long as you don't help. Lung Hua said confidently. Go ahead and try if you don't believe me. Lung Qianye said coldly and then ignored the reckless Lung Hua. Three ancestors, please give the Lung family's soul-chasing token. Lung Hua pleaded. As long as the soul-chasing token was given, that girl could forget about living no matter how great her ability was. Lung Hua, we don't care about the Lung family anymore. If you want to get the soul-chasing token, you should look for the current patriarch of the Lung family, Lung Xiaoxiao reminded. Alas! Lung Hua had lived for too long. He actually wanted to kill the few descendants of the Lung family in front of second brother. With second brother's protective nature, he probably wouldn't let Lung Hua go. Big brother had yet to express any opinion, so he really couldn't tell what the two of them were thinking for a while. Old ancestor, Lung Yimin said that he can't decide this matter. Lung Hua complained angrily. Previously, he had sent someone to look for Lung Yimin, but he was refused. That was why he came to trouble the old ancestors, and there was no lack of intentions to make things difficult for Lung Yimin. If the patriarch of the Lung family can't make the decision, then we can't make the decision either. Lung Xiaoxiao said very irresponsibly. As the saying goes, the tea would become cold when the person leaves. If the current patriarch refused to care, then they naturally had no reason to care. Anyway, there were so many people in the Lung family, so it was fine if a few died. However, the ones who died were all from Big Brother's line. Well, hopefully, Big Brother wouldn't have any bad thoughts. Among the three of them, second brother had the fewest descendants, and he didn't have many. Most of the members of the Lung family were basically from the eldest brother's line now. However, even though it was passed down from an ancestor, there were many open and secret disputes among them, so it wasn't good to have too many descendants. However, Big Brother seemed to be quite calm, and he probably wouldn't turn against second brother for the sake of a few incompetent descendants. After all, in terms of contribution to the family, no one could compare to second brother. Leng Hua was a little dumbfounded. What did the old ancestor mean? Didn't care? How could this be? He couldn't understand. Leng Hua, Leng Feng and the others let the matter end here. They only have themselves to blame for dying. You can't blame anyone else. Therefore you better behave yourselves and put away your thoughts. Otherwise bear the consequences. Leng Xiaoqing, who had been silent, warned. Old ancestor. Leng Hua's face was full of confidence. Did he hear it wrongly? Leng Feng and the others were the descendants of this old ancestor. The old ancestor actually didn't pursue Leng Ruoxia's matter. This was too unbelievable. Even if Leng Ruoxia had the support of the Grand Elder, this shouldn't be the result. Leave. Cultivate in peace. It's been so many years. If you still can't break through, there's only death, Leng Xiaoqing warned. Yes. The old ancestors left the room gloomily after being reprimanded. After they left, only the three Leng Xiaoyu brothers and the Grand Elder were left in the huge room. Big brother, I'm sorry for causing you to lose so many descendants, Leng Xiaoyu said lightly with a cold aura. They asked for it. They can't blame anyone else, Leng Xiaoqing said nonchalantly. He wouldn't have any grudges with his younger brother for a few disappointing descendants. Moreover, those descendants were too different from him in terms of seniority, and he didn't have too deep of a relationship with them. How could he fall out with his younger brother for them? Alas! The Leng family's strength couldn't be separated from Xiaoyu. He knew this better than anyone. Chapter 8:17. The Sun family invites 3. Grandpas, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave too. At this moment, Leng Qianye took the opportunity to say, well, the atmosphere in the room was a little oppressive now, so it was better for him to leave. Qianye, when are you bringing the 3 of them over for us to meet? Leng Xiaoqing said kindly. I can't decide that. That little girl is stubborn. No one can force her unless she wants to. Leng Qianye said helplessly. Although he hadn't known little Shuer for long, he was pretty sure of that girl's character. Therefore, he didn't dare to rashly agree to eldest granduncle's request. Otherwise, that girl would definitely turn hostile. Boo! He was really too pitiful. He actually had to look at the expressions of his descendants. There was such a cowardly ancestor in the world. At this moment, he didn't know that Leng Ruoxia and the others had already left the Leng family. Oh, what a nice girl. Let's see her when I have time. Leng Xiaoqing compromised. A junior that Xiaoyu took seriously was naturally worthy of his attention. Grandpas, I'll take my leave. Leng Qianye nodded and then stood up to leave the room. After exiting the forbidden area, Leng Qianye went straight to the snowfall garden. However, when he arrived, he realized that the building was already empty. Immediately, an abandoned feeling surged throughout his body. Boo! What a heartless little girl. She actually left without bidding farewell. She's too much. Leng Qianye sat on a stone bench in the garden with tears in his eyes. He complained silently. He was busy cleaning up the little girl's mess, but the little girl actually sneaked away. Damn it. Leng Ruoxia and the others left Proud Cold City and slowly walked in the direction of Sunzhou City. However, after walking for nearly a day, they met the Sun family on the way. Leng Ruoxia raised her beautiful eyes and looked at the dog blocking the way in front of her. She said with a faint smile, "Isn't this the 6th elder of the Sun family? Is there something wrong with you blocking in front of us?" Leng Ruoxia, our Sun family invites you in, the 6th elder of the Sun family said coldly with a cold face. Leng Xing was really too useless. He actually let Leng Ruoxia leave the Leng family. However, this saved him a lot of trouble because he was planning to go to Proud Cold City to put up a thread for Leng Ruoxia and the others. He still didn't know that Leng Xing had already died. Oh, then 6th elder, lead the way. Leng Ruoxia nodded and said with a light smile. Hee. She was planning to go to the Sun family. The Sun family came to invite her. Well, She could say that the Sun family was very sensible. Miss Lung, please follow me. The sixth elder of the Sun family was stunned, and then he said, Damn! Could Lung Ruoxue be a fool? This is a feast at Hongmen 1. Feast of Hongmen was a banquet set up with the aim of murdering a guest, for the Sun family. She actually agreed to go with him without thinking, so how could he not be surprised? In fact, before he came to look for Lung Ruoxue, he had prepared many plans, such as being polite before resorting to force, coercion, enticement, and so on. He had thought of all of them, but he didn't expect Lung Ruoxue to actually agree so readily, and the plan he prepared didn't even use one move. This didn't prevent him from feeling a sense of accomplishment. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded and summoned the little peacock, indicating for everyone to sit on it. Then they followed the sixth elder of the Sun family and flew directly to Sunzhou City. Lung Ruoxue and the others arrived at Sunzhou City after flying for nearly a week. The sixth elder never stopped talking as they walked on the streets of Sunzhou City. Miss Lung, our son Zhouqing isn't inferior to Ao Hancheng. You definitely won't regret marrying into the Sun family, the sixth elder of the Sun family said self-righteously. Sixth elder, when did I say that I'm going to marry into the Sun family? I already have a fiancé, Lung Ruoxue reminded. It would be strange if she didn't regret it. Along the way, this old man had intentionally or unintentionally flaunted the Sun family to her, but she had ignored him. She didn't expect this old man to still not give up. You're from the Lung family, so your marriage will naturally be decided by the Lung family. How can you settle down privately? The Lung family won't admit it, the sixth elder said confidently. After knowing Lung Ruoxue's beauty, many people in the clan missed her. What does it have to do with me whether the Lung family admits it or not? I'm not from the Lung family, Lung Ruoxue said for the umpteenth time. It seemed like she had to find a time to sue the world. She had nothing to do with the Lung family. Otherwise, it would not be good to continue being misunderstood. Lung Ruoxue, how can you not even acknowledge the ancestor sect? The Sun family's sixth elder said somewhat angrily. As a member of the vast heaven continent, he was very clear about the importance of the family. Therefore, seeing a person who viewed the family as dirt now, he was really a little unaccustomed. This is my business. It has nothing to do with the sixth elder, right? Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. How can it be okay? You're going to marry into our Sun family, the sixth elder corrected. Lung Ruoxue stopped talking after hearing what the sixth elder said because she really didn't want to harp on this matter. What the Sun family thought was the Sun family's business. If the Sun family wanted to marry the young lady of the Lung family, go ahead, but this person would definitely not be her. Sixth elder, let's stay in that inn. After walking for a while, Lung Ruoxue suddenly pointed at a 3-story high inn. That inn had the Sun family's totem, which should belong to the Sun family. Miss Lung, you are guests of the Sun family. It's not suitable for you to stay in the inn. The Sun family has already arranged a residence for you, sixth elder said. Oh, then let's go quickly. I'm tired and want to rest early, Lung Ruoxue said impatiently. Rest early? Miss Lung, it's not night yet? The sixth elder was a little speechless. Lung Ruoxue and the others often asked to rest along the way, so they could reach Sunzhou City in less than 2 days, day and night, but they had to take almost a week to arrive. Thinking of this, he was a little depressed, but he had to agree. Otherwise, Lung Ruoxue and the others would walk even slower. Who said only night can rest? I want to rest now. Who dares not to? Lung Ruoxue said with slight displeasure. Then let's go quickly. The sixth elder quickened his pace after speaking. About half an hour later, he brought them to the Sun family's main residence and arranged an independent yard for Lung Ruoxue and the others. Then he went to report to the patriarch himself. Boo. He was really working hard. His legs were about to break from running for the past few days. Chapter 8:18. The Sun family invites for. After the sixth elder of the Sun family left, Feng De and the others looked at their residence and clicked their tongues in wonder. Miss, this place is actually called Snow Garden. I wonder if they did it on purpose or not. Don't tell me you think calling it Snow Garden is related to me? Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes, and was a little speechless. Sigh. Her subordinate's imagination was really becoming richer and richer. Ehe. It's hard to say. Miss, I wonder why the Sun family invited us here. I'm really curious. Fengde said with a grin, and then looked at Lung Ruoxue curiously. Definitely not to treat us to a meal. Don't worry. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly and said calmly, could it be that they want to take revenge? But if that's the case, there's no need to arrange for us to stay in such a good place, right? Wouldn't it be better to just attack directly? Fengde guessed that the decorations in this snow garden were not inferior to the snowfall garden they lived in the Lung family. Why think so much? We will know eventually. Empty said nonchalantly and found a random place to sit down. Okay, do as you please. I'll go back to my room first. After speaking, Lung Ruoxue pulled the freak to find a room and walked in. After arranging for Lung Ruoxue and the others, the sixth elder went straight to the patriarch's study. In the study, Sun Sheng sat in the main seat and looked up at the sixth elder in front of him, his handsome face revealing slight displeasure. Patriarch. The sixth elder looked at Sun Sheng uneasily, feeling very uncertain. Ooh. Why was the patriarch only looking at him and not saying anything? Why did you go for so long? Sun Xingji asked. He had arranged the fastest flying beast for the sixth elder, but he didn't expect this old fellow to go for so many days. Patriarch, Lung Ruoxue and the others' beasts fly at a slow speed, and they always ask to rest. I was afraid that they wouldn't be willing to follow me obediently, so I had to coax them, the sixth elder explained with a face full of grievance. Boo. If it wasn't for the patriarch asking Lung Ruoxue to be unharmed, he wouldn't have been so accommodating. Oh, have they arranged it? Sun Xing asked with half-closed eyes. Yes, I've arranged it. Please rest assured, patriarch. The sixth elder nodded. To be honest, he was a little uncertain about the patriarch's thoughts now. Logically speaking, Lung Ruoxue had crippled many juniors of the Sun family, so she should be considered an enemy of the Sun family. But why did the patriarch still treat her so politely? That's good. Send someone to watch them lest they slip away secretly, Sun Sheng instructed. Don't worry, patriarch. The Sun family is heavily guarded. Not even a fly can fly out, the sixth elder promised. Don't be careless. Lung Ruoxue is very important, Sun Sheng said very seriously. Patriarch, I kept testing Lung Ruoxue along the way. However, she's either pretending to be crazy or acting stupid. She's not easy to deal with. Sixth elder said worriedly. To be honest, he had never seen such a difficult opponent in all his life. Oh, what did you test her about? Sun Sheng was a little curious. I told her briefly about the Sun family. Moreover, I said that she would marry into the Sun family. However, she said that she wasn't from the Lung family and wouldn't accept the Lung family's arrangement. The sixth elder said with a slight headache. That's not up to her. Sun Xing said nonchalantly. He had never seen Lung Ruoxue before, but he had heard of Lung Ruoxue's beauty. Otherwise, that person would not take her so seriously. Patriarch, I heard Lung Ruoxue is amenable to coaxing but not coercion. Moreover, she seems to have a good relationship with the young master, the sixth elder reminded. What he implied was that he could use the relationship between the young master and her. Oh, tell Tingayer to visit them when she has time. We have to stabilize her, Sun Sheng said after some thought. Yes, the sixth elder answered and then left the study. In the snow garden, Lung Ruoxue and the freak returned to their rooms to rest. However, Fengde and the others started a fire in the garden and prepared to make dinner. Hee. They didn't dare to eat anything from the Sun family. You guys really know how to enjoy yourselves. Suddenly, a man's clear voice sounded in the garden. Yo, what brings the young master of the Sun family here? Fengde looked up at Sun Tung and said without much enthusiasm. I heard from the sixth elder that you guys were here, so I specially came to take a look, Sun Tung explained. Then he looked up and searched everywhere, but he didn't find any traces of Lung Ruoxue and the freak. Where are Lung Ruoxue and the others? Sun Ting asked curiously. Miss is tired and went to rest. I'm afraid you won't be able to see her today, Fengde said with a light smile. Oh, why are you guys here in the Sun family? Sun Ting couldn't help asking. The Sun family invited us. How dare we not come? Fengde said matter-of-factly, as if it was only natural. You shouldn't have come, Sun Ting said faintly with a sigh. Can you let us do this? If we don't come, the Sun family will also think of ways to force us here. Fengde said understandingly. Don't worry, I'll think of a way to protect you, Sun Ting said after a moment of silence. Young Master Sun, thank you for your kind intentions, but think about yourself, Fengde reminded. He had a good impression of this Sun Ting. Unfortunately, Sun Ting just happened to be from the Sun family. Alas, heaven was playing tricks on them. Sun Ting was destined not to be friends with them. In the future, he might even become enemies. This is the Sun family. Sun Ting smiled bitterly. No matter how powerful Lung Ruoxue and the others were, he didn't think these people could gain anything from the Sun family. Yes, we know. Young Master Sun, we want to eat. Do you want to join us? Fengde invited. Okay, then I want stand on ceremony. Sun Ting sat down beside Fengde and picked up a piece of raw meat to roast. Sometimes he really envied these people's carefree lives. Such a life had always been his dream. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it. Fengde and the others chatted with Sun Ting as they ate, asking about the Sun family from time to time. Sun Ting basically answered all of their questions. Therefore, the guests and host were overjoyed during the meal. Chapter 819. The Sun family in deep fire. 1. The next day, Lung Ruoxue and the others slipped into the Sun family's main residence after breakfast, calling it a walk. Miss, the Sun family is quite big, Fengde praised. They had been walking for the entire morning, but they had only walked a third of the way. This is, after all, one of the 3 major families. Isn't it normal for it to be big? Lung Ruoxue calmly said. After that, her beautiful eyes carefully observed her surroundings. Hey, hurry up and help me work. When Lung Ruoxue and the others passed by a yard, an unruly voice suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. However, none of them took it seriously and just continued walking. I'm talking to you? Are you deaf? The voice chased and blocked their way. Are you talking to us? Lung Ruoxue looked up at the girl blocking them and asked lightly. Who else could it be? Which yard are you from? How dare you ignore my words? I must tell the patriarch and punish you severely. The girl looked at Lung Ruoxue in amazement, her words full of ruthlessness and jealousy. Sigh. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh softly. Did they really have the face of a servant? Why was Lung Rume like this and the girl in front of her like this? The aggressive girl in front of him was not very beautiful, but she was very cute. Her round face was red, and her big eyes were very bright. Unfortunately, if one wanted to have a good impression of her, the cuteness on her body would be destroyed when she opened her mouth to speak, and the superiority of the daughter of a noble family was fully displayed. Up to you. Lung Ruoxue was very cold. She didn't have much patience with such an unreasonable young lady from a noble family, so she only hoped that this woman in front of her had some tact and didn't anger her. Otherwise, she wouldn't be polite when she attacked. You. Do you know who you're talking to? How dare you? I think you don't want to live anymore. The girl roared angrily. Humph. She had never received such treatment in the Sun family. How preposterous. I'm alive and well. How can I not want to live? Moreover, who you are isn't important to me. I just want to tell you to stay away from me and not provoke me, Lung Ruoxue warned. Then, she led everyone to pass the girl in front of her from the side. Well, she was in a good mood today, so she didn't want to bother with this unruly woman. However, how could the girl let it go? Moreover, she was so angry that she took out the whip around her waist and waved it at Lung Ruoxue and the others. Feeling the bloodthirsty aura, Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes flashed with a cold light. Then, with a leap, the whip in the girl's hand arrived in her hand. Lung Ruoxue's anger surged as she looked at the barbs on the whip. If it wasn't for their strength, this whip would definitely not have been fun to hit her. Moreover, she had never had a good impression of the woman who used the whip. However, she had always liked to give her a taste of her own medicine, so she didn't hesitate to swing the whip back at the girl. The girl couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, because the whip was taken away. However, When Lung Ruoxia's whip arrived in front of her, she suddenly woke up. However, it was already too late. The whip hit her firmly, causing her to cry out in pain, and her body was drenched in blood. Ah! How dare you hit me? I won't let you go. I want to kill you. The young girl cried out in pain, the anger and hatred on her face impossible to hide. Lung Ruoxia swung her whip several times when she heard the girl's words. She was not a person who would pity women. Moreover, she had no reason to let go of a woman who said she wanted to kill her. After all, this was the Sun family, and she wanted to nip the danger in the bud. Miss, she has already fainted, Fengde reminded. He knew that his miss hated whips, and this woman happened to encounter Miss Taboo, so she deserved to be beaten. Amen. Lung Ruoxia nodded. Then, she threw away the whip in her hand and left with everyone. Miss, why didn't you kill that woman? Lu Tao couldn't help but ask. She hated that woman just now. Lu Tao, you've become violent, Lung Ruoxia teased with a light smile. Miss, Lu Tao was speechless. She was violent? Then what was her young miss? Even though that woman is very annoying, it's enough to teach her a lesson. There's no need to kill her. Lung Ruoxia said disdainfully. It would be beneath her dignity to argue with an ant. Miss, I'm afraid we're in trouble again. We taught their young miss a lesson in the Sun family. The Sun family probably won't let us go, right? Lu Tao asked curiously, her beautiful face full of anticipation. That's for sure, but who knows if she's Miss Sun? Lung Ruoxia said nonchalantly. Didn't she come to the Sun family to cause trouble? She just didn't expect it to be so soon, so that woman knocking into her hand was asking for it. Initially, she didn't intend to teach that woman a lesson. Unfortunately, she didn't appreciate it. Miss, are we still going to spin? Fengde asked carefully. Let's transfer here today. Let's go back and wait for the Sun family to come and denounce us. Otherwise, how rude would it be if they missed? Lung Ruoxia said very kindly. Then everyone swaggered back to the snow garden. Less than an hour after returning to the snow garden, the head butler of the Sun family brought people over. In the garden, Lung Ruoxia sat on a stone bench and looked at the head butler standing in front of her, and the others without saying a word. Both sides stared at each other. Cough. Miss Lung, I heard from the maidservants in the residence that you injured Miss Su? The head butler cleared his throat and said uncomfortably. Boo. These people gave him a huge pair. What Miss Su? Do I know her? Lung Ruoxia blinked her beautiful eyes, her beautiful face full of innocence. Miss Lung, did you injure a young lady? The head butler had no choice but to ask in a different way. Yes, that's right. When we were taking a walk in the yard, a crazy woman said she wanted to kill us, so I taught her a small lesson. Lung Ruoxia said honestly. Chapter 820, The Sun Family in Deep Fire, 2. That's Miss Su, the head butler said. Then he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. He even taught her a small lesson. Alas! Miss Su was beaten half to death. Oh, Lung Ruoxia answered lightly and didn't say anything else. Miss Lung, that Miss Su is the mistress niece, so our patriarch is in a difficult position. The head butler sighed softly. Boo. Why was Lung Ruoxia's reaction so calm? Wasn't she afraid? Oh, Lung Ruoxia's reaction was still not big. Miss Lung, the patriarch invites you in. The head butler's forehead was full of sweat. He thought, why is it so difficult to communicate with this woman? Oh, Lung Ruoxia answered lightly, then stood up and pulled the freak out of the snow garden. Miss Lung, where are you going? The head butler wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, and chased after the two of them as he asked speechlessly. Is the head butler's memory so bad? Didn't you say that your patriarch wants to see me? Of course I'm going to see your patriarch. Lung Ruoxia said matter-of-factly. I'll bring you there. The head butler was a little crazy, but he still hurriedly said. Boo. He was really afraid that Lung Ruoxia would barge into the Sun family. This time he beat up his cousin. Who knew if he would beat up Miss Sun next time? Okay. Lung Ruoxia nodded reluctantly, but she was already laughing in her heart. The head butler of the Sun family led the way sadly. Soon he brought Lung Ruoxia and the freak to the main yard. Then he asked the guard to report and led Lung Ruoxue and the freak directly into the living room. In the living room, Sun Sheng sat on the main seat. On either side of him were his two wives, and there were a few elders of the Sun family with higher status sitting below them. After Lung Ruoxue and the freak entered the living room, they saw that everyone in the living room looked like they were going to denounce them. However, neither of them cared. Instead, they casually found two empty seats and sat down. Humph. Is the mighty Miss Lung so rude? Master hasn't even invited you to sit down. Why did you sit down yourself? A very unfriendly voice sounded in the living room. Madam, are you talking to me? I need to make it clear that I'm not the young lady of the Lung family. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and glanced at the young woman who spoke with a faint smile. You. The young woman was so angry that she couldn't say anything. Her limpid eyes stared at Sun Sheng pitifully, meaning for Sun Sheng to uphold justice for her. Miss Lung, you're indeed a little rude, Sun Sheng said with slight displeasure. Chang Yan said that guests should do as the host wished, but this guest didn't care about him at all, so how could he not be angry? However, Lung Ruoxue was really the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She deserved her reputation. Perhaps. However, I don't think you're very polite as a master. The Sun family's patriarch, respect is mutual. I don't see that you have the intention of respecting me, so there's naturally no need to respect you. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Sun Sheng looked to be around 40 years old. He had taken good care of himself. He was handsome and had the aura of a leader. His strength was mystic sovereign. As for the two women beside him, one was dignified and the other was enchanting. They were both in their 30s. However, their strength was not high. The best was a mystic monarch. Miss Lung is indeed sharp-tongued. However, I didn't invite you here to bicker with you. You injured our guest in the Sun family. You have to give me an explanation, right? Sun Sheng said with a deeper meaning. What explanation? Could it be that the Sun family's patriarch wants me to pay the medical fees? I beat up the 10th elder of the Lung family and compensated him with an amethyst coin. Oh. How many amethyst coins does the Sun family's patriarch think that Miss Su is worth? Lung Ruoxue asked very innocently. This. Sun Sheng didn't know what to say because he realized that Lung Ruoxue was really, as the 6th elder said, difficult to deal with. Miss Lung Su Jiao is my niece. Originally, I shouldn't have stood up for her since my niece offended you, but her injuries were a little serious. However, she deserved it, so there's no need to compensate. Miss Lung just needs to apologize. A beautiful woman beside Sun Sheng said, her face still full of helplessness. Mrs. Sun, you also said that your niece deserved it. Do you think I will apologize? Lung Ruoxue said with a spurious smile. Well, if she was not mistaken, this person should be Sun Teng's mother, right? Miss Lung, I don't want you to compensate me anymore. Can't I just apologize? Eldest Madam Sun was a little displeased. At this moment, she even felt that Lung Ruoxue wasn't as good as her son said. If it's my fault, I will naturally apologize, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. She was a person who distinguished gratitude and grudges clearly. It was impossible for her to wrong herself for an unreasonable woman. Big sister, I told you long ago that she won't apologize. Why did you insist? Another woman gloated, the hatred in her eyes disappearing in a flash. Could this be the legendary Madam Sun who eloped with President Wu? Lung Ruoxue looked at the woman with limitless charm and an alluring figure, and said with a light smile, well, she finally saw the famous Madam Sun today. This woman wasn't considered beautiful, but she had a charm that men couldn't resist. Moreover, that sexy figure was probably the main reason why men were obsessed with her. What did you say? As soon as the second madam of the Sun family heard Wu Gong's name, she jumped up from her chair as if her tail had been stepped on. She glared at Lung Ruoxue with anger. Madam Sun, you're so young. Are your ears not working well? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of pity. Lung Ruoxue, repeat what you said just now if you have the guts. The second madam roared furiously. She was so angry that her originally not considered pretty face was a little distorted. Mrs. Sun, where did Wu Gong go? Lung Ruoxue asked with a naughty smile. What a joke. Did she have to say anything if this woman asked her to? Moreover, which woman had the guts? Who should I ask if you ask me? Second Madam gritted her teeth in hatred. At this moment, she really wanted to chop Lung Ruoxue into pieces. Chapter 821. The Sun Family in Deep Fire 3. Patriarch Sun, Elder Wang should have been here, right? Lung Ruoxue turned the topic to Sun Sheng, whose face had turned black from anger, fearlessly and asked calmly. Lung Ruoxue, what exactly do you want to ask? Sun Sheng gritted his teeth and said with widened eyes. Nothing. I have some ties with the Mystic Association. I heard that Vice President Wu Gong has disappeared, so I naturally have to care. Lung Ruoxue's words were reasonable. Sun Sheng could only hold back his anger. As for the elders in the hall, when they heard Lung Ruoxue's question, they all broke out in cold sweat. They thought to themselves, this girl is really bold. She even dared to ask such a question in front of the patriarch. Well, even though they were a little curious, this was the patriarch's private matter after all, and it could be considered a scandal. Therefore, they could only fantasize in their hearts when they had nothing to do and didn't dare to ask at all. However, at this moment, they all pricked up their ears in unison, afraid to miss any detail. What does that have to do with me? Sun Sheng was very angry, but his eyes glared fiercely at the woman who caused trouble. Because of this matter, he had already become the family's laughing stock. There are rumors that Wu Gong eloped with Madam Sun beside you. Lung Ruoxue repeated with a smile. The word gossip seemed to be written on her beautiful face. Swear, don't spout nonsense without evidence. What if the patriarch of the Sun family is unhappy and kills us to silence us? The freak said with a face full of worry. Aren't I verifying it? Let's ask him face to face. In the future, if we hear others discussing this matter, we can help the Sun family head refute the rumors. Lung Ruoxue had always been kind and warm-hearted. That's true. However, where did Wu Gong go since Madam Sun is still in the Sun family? Could it be that his love rival? The freak said curiously. However, he hurriedly stopped as if he had suddenly thought of something and carefully stared at Sun Sheng, his handsome face full of vigilance. Freak, don't make wild guesses. Why would the patriarch of the Sun family do such a thing? It's just a woman, what's the big deal? Which patriarch doesn't have a colored hat on his head? Lung Ruoxue was very understanding. And I won't guess anymore. Let others guess. The freak was very obedient. Then he stopped talking. However, his conversation with Swear had almost angered Sun Sheng and the others to death. Sun Sheng's face was gloomy, and the female lead of the conversation, the second madam of the Sun family, didn't even dare to breathe heavily. However, she was so angry in her heart that she was about to explode. In order to appease the bad influence this matter brought, she had used all her tricks to regain Sun Sheng's favor. Could it be that she was going to lose favor again because of Lung Ruoxue's few words? No. She absolutely couldn't allow such a thing to happen. Patriarch, these two people actually humiliated me in front of you. You have to uphold justice for me. Madam Sun said aggrievedly with tears in her watery eyes. Shut up. Sun Sheng roared impatiently. Then he suppressed his anger and composed himself. He said to Lung Ruoxue and the freak, Gentlemen, Vice President Wu's disappearance has nothing to do with our Sun family. I've already explained this to the president of the Mystic Cultivator Association, so I don't want to hear the same thing from the two of you. Oh, but rumors are terrifying. After all, it's not a good thing for a mother to create such a scandal. It will also bring bad effects to the juniors in the family, Lung Ruoxue said worriedly. Miss Lung is right, but she's no longer the matriarch, Sun Sheng said calmly. What? Oh, Lung Ruoxue and the second madam of the Sun family said at the same time, but their reactions were completely different. The Sun family treats their concubines very well. They can actually sit beside the patriarch, Lung Ruoxue said in disbelief. Lu Wan, back off, Sun Sheng scolded angrily, the fire in his heart surging. Patriarch. Second Madam Lu Wan's face was full of disbelief. Just because of a few words from Lung Ruoxue, she had actually been demoted to a concubine by the patriarch. This hatred in her heart. She had worked hard for so many years, but in just a few minutes, it had all disappeared. Thinking of this, she lost her mind and pounced towards Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue, I'm going to kill you. Lu Wan's hatred burned furiously, wanting to skin Lung Ruoxue alive. Bang! Lu Wan, who was pouncing on Lung Ruoxue, was kicked out by the freak. After Lu Wan was kicked away, she directly collided with a pillar in the living room. Then, after falling to the ground, she rolled out of the living room like a ball. In short, she was as disheveled as possible. This change almost dumbfounded everyone present, because everything happened too quickly. Before they could even react, Lu Wan was in tragedy. You guys are too much. Sun Sheng stood up from his chair. Damn it, what day was it today? He obviously wanted to give Lung Ruoxue a show of strength, but he was the one who lost face in the end. Was there anything more depressing than this? We didn't do anything. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of innocence. Well, it was just self-defense. You. Sun Sheng almost fainted before he could catch his breath. Patriarch, take care of your health. Don't be angry over such a small matter. Eldest madam of the Sun family said with concern. Yes. Patriarch's son, be careful of your body. Overindulgence is not good for your body. Lung Ruoxue reminded angrily. Then she stood up and pulled the freak away, and the two left the living room as if no one was around. Damn it, I'm so angry. Sun Sheng's anger increased when he saw Lung Ruoxue and Lu Jinwen leave. One patriarch, why bother with a junior? The eldest madam said helplessly. I've lived for decades, but I've never been so angry before. Sun Sheng was depressed just thinking about it. This really made him lose face. Patriarch, should we let Lung Ruoxue know the power of our Sun family? An elder suggested. Don't act rashly first. Send someone to watch her. Sun Sheng took a deep breath and ordered. Chapter 822. The Sun family in deep fire for, yes. The elder replied, then left the living room to make the arrangements. Madam, help me back to my room to rest. Sun Sheng felt that the blood in his body was flowing towards a certain place, and his head was dizzy and very uncomfortable. Okay. The eldest madam nodded and helped Sun Sheng out of the living room. Lung Ruoxue and the freak returned to the snow garden in a good mood. When Feng De and the others saw them return, they immediately surrounded them and kept asking, Miss, what did the Sun family say? Miss, did Sun Sheng make things difficult for you? Lung Ruoxue looked at Feng De and the others with some amusement and said with a mysterious smile, We're fine, but Sun Sheng's condition is probably not good. What's wrong with him? Everyone was very curious. Lung Ruoxue and the freak looked at each other and told them what happened in the living room. Everyone couldn't help laughing after hearing that. Swear, you two are too evil, Empty said with a light smile. Alas! The unlucky second mistress of the Sun family and the poor Sun Sheng. Why did you provoke Swear for no reason? Weren't you the ones who were at a disadvantage? We're not guests in the Sun family. Of course we can't be polite. Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. And that makes sense. Why don't we let Feng De and the others go out, and see if there's anyone who doesn't have eyes who will take the initiative to knock into us? Empty suggested. Go if you want to go. We don't need to stand on ceremony, just treat this as your home. Lung Ruoxue reminded with a naughty smile. Yes, Mississippi. Then we'll go. Feng De and the others said hurriedly. Then they left the snow garden with the team. Empty, who was extremely bored, actually followed them to join in the fun. In the evening, Feng De and the others, who had had enough fun, returned to the snow garden with a smile. After having a comfortable dinner, they returned to their rooms early to rest, but the Sun family could not calm down. After half a day, Feng De and the others caused a commotion in the Sun family. Moreover, many of the Sun family members were beaten up because of a disagreement. At night, the Sun family members who went to complain to Sun Sheng created an unprecedented record. Not only that, many of the Sun family members didn't dare to be angry, but didn't dare to say anything because the opponent was really too barbaric. In the eldest madam's room, Sun Sheng lay on the bed with a pale face. Eldest madam was feeding him, and the room was full of elders and members of the Sun family. Many of them had bruises on their faces. Patriarch, you have to uphold justice for us. Those people are really too barbaric, an elder of the Sun family said with a long face. His face was swollen like a pig's head. However, in order to let the patriarch stand up for them, he came directly without even taking the medicine. Patriarch, those people are actually still so arrogant in our Sun family. How preposterous. Where will the Sun family's face go if our Sun family doesn't teach them a good lesson? Another elder said indignantly. Are you done? Leave if you are. The patriarch isn't feeling well today and needs to rest, the eldest madam said with a slight headache. She couldn't stop sighing inwardly. Sigh. Lung Ruoxua was really good at causing trouble. She really didn't know what they had done this afternoon that made so many people complain. Yes. The elders could only choose to leave when they saw this. After all, they knew why the patriarch was unwell. Alas, it was also because Lung Ruoxua angered him. The next day, after breakfast, Fengda and the others went out collectively. Moreover, they caused a commotion in the Sun family. However, they returned to the snow garden on time for lunch, and then slipped away. On the third day, it was still the same. On the fourth day, the Sun family almost didn't dare to appear in front of them because in the eyes of the Sun family, they were unreasonable barbarians. Therefore, they had to hide when they saw them. Otherwise, they would be the unlucky ones. Captain, where did the Sun family hide? Lin Yuan looked at the empty yard and was depressed. What was going on? Wasn't this the Sun family? Even the guards were missing. Alas, they couldn't find anything even if they wanted to. Ehe. They'll be out in a while. Fengda said confidently. Then he took out a small black ball from his storage ring and casually threw it into a yard. Bang. The wall outside the yard exploded. Who dares to cause trouble in the Sun family? A furious roar sounded and several figures jumped out from the dark. However, when they saw Fengda and the others in the yard, they wanted to run. Unfortunately, they were blocked by Fengda and the others who had been waiting for them. What do you want? The guard captain said with a trembling voice, his eyes filled with fear. Why was he on duty today? If he had known that the explosion was caused by these malignant stars, he wouldn't have come out even if he died because he remembered the orders from above at all times and saw them hiding. Nothing. I just want to spar with you guys, Fengda said with a smile. Then he gave Lin Yuan and the others a look. Everyone swarmed forward tacitly and beat up these guards who showed their heads. For a moment, the painful cries of the guards and the muffled sounds of fists hitting flesh resonated throughout the entire yard. The Sun family, who were hiding in the room, were so frightened that their bodies trembled. However, they were also a little curious. Which unlucky person was caught by those barbarians? Patriarch, this can't go on. As evening approached, many elders and clansmen of the Sun family gathered in eldest madam's room. Moreover, everyone's face was covered in fear because they couldn't figure it out for a few days. This was the Sun family, and they had to be the ones to be arrogant, domineering, and bullying. Why were outsiders the ones who dominated an area in the Sun family? Boo. No one would believe this if word got out. This was the Sun family's main residence in Sunzhou City. This was too unbelievable. Cough cough. Then what do you want me to do? Sun Sheng's face was still very pale. Moreover, his body seemed to be even weaker than a few days ago. Alas, he was already depressed. These clansmen had been constantly telling him about the achievements of Lung Ruoxua and the others in the past few days, making him even angrier. Chapter 823. The Sun Family in Deep Fire 5. Patriarch, we can't let Lung Ruoxua and the others continue. We have to think of a way. Otherwise, if this continues, there will be no one in the Sun family's main residence, an elder said. These few days, because of Lung Ruoxua and the others, the clansmen who could find an excuse to move out would rather spend money to stay in a guest shop in the city than stay in the main residence. Alas! Thinking of this, he was extremely depressed. Do you have any good ideas? Sun Xing couldn't help asking. Patriarch, we discuss whether we can change places for Lung Ruoxua and the others. I heard from the sixth elder that they originally planned to stay in the guest shop. This elder asked carefully. No, Lung Ruoxue is too cunning. I'll be even more worried if they stay outside. Sun Sheng was helpless. He had promised that person to leave Lung Ruoxue in the Sun family. What if they slipped away if they moved to a guest shop? Then what should we do? The elders had bitter expressions. They knew very well why the patriarch was so persistent, but they really couldn't bear it. If they weren't elders of the Sun family, to be honest, they also wanted to move out. Persevere for a few days. Didn't I tell you to hide from them? Sun Sheng sighed. Alas! Wasn't he also enduring it? Yes, patriarch, rest well. Well, leave first. The elders had long guessed that the patriarch would not agree, so there was no need to disturb the patriarch's rest since they knew the result. Snow Garden. Lung Ruoxue and the others were sitting in the garden chatting. Lung Ruoxue's mood was also affected by the happy expressions on Feng De and the others' faces. Miss, you don't know. The Sun family has been tormented badly by us these few days. The Sun family is like a mouse that saw a cat when they see us. They slip away quickly. Feng De said with joy. However, no matter how fast they are not as fast as us. Therefore, they can only obediently let us ravage them. Lin Yuan added. How strange. You've been causing trouble for a few days. Why didn't anyone from the Sun family come out to manage it? Could it be that the patriarch and elders are just decorations? Lung Ruoxue was puzzled. Or did the Sun family have another scheme? Why doesn't anyone care? Didn't someone stand out 2 days ago? However, after being beaten up by us, the number of people who dare to stand out is decreasing. There aren't any now. Feng De shrugged and said very innocently. The people in the vast heaven continent didn't have a high evaluation of the Sun family. They said that the Sun family was domineering, arrogant, and unreasonable. However, Feng De didn't see these qualities that outsiders said. Instead, he felt that the Sun family was very easy to bully. The Sun family's behavior is very abnormal, Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. In the beginning, the Sun family wanted to take her down a notch. However, after Feng De and the others caused a commotion, they became cowards. This was very abnormal, and it didn't match the domineering character of the Sun family. Shuer, don't think too much. It's certain that the Sun family has concerns about you. As for why, I'm afraid we can only wait for the Sun family to explain it to us. Empty said understandingly. Yes, that makes sense. Lung Ruoxue nodded. You're all here. Suddenly, Sun Ting's voice interrupted. Lung Ruoxue looked up and saw Sun Ting walking into the garden. Moreover, he didn't come alone. There was a young man beside him who looked a little familiar. Is young Master Sun here to denounce us? Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Don't worry, I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. Sun Ting smiled helplessly. Alas. He didn't expect Lung Ruoxue and the others to be so noisy. Everyone in the Sun family was in danger now. Moreover, the clansmen were in deep trouble every day, and the timid ones didn't even dare to leave the house. It's okay even if young Master Sun is here to denounce me. I even dare to beat up the Lung family, let alone the Sun family. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. I know. Sun Ting smiled bitterly. If anyone else said the same thing to him, he would think that it was a provocation. However, the person who said this now was Lung Ruoxue, so he knew that what the girl in front of him said was the truth. He's my cousin Su Qian. Sun Ting introduced the person beside him awkwardly. Miss Lung, long time no see. Su Qian looked at Lung Ruoxue in amazement and greeted her. Speaking of which, he had not seen Lung Ruoxue for a few years. It was mainly because he had not been able to find the whereabouts of the beauty. This time, he realized that Lung Ruoxue was more beautiful than he remembered. You know each other? Sun Ting was a little surprised. We've met a few times, Su Qian said hurriedly. Several times? Lung Ruoxue looked at Su Qian thoughtfully. No wonder she found this man a little familiar. So he knew that she was from the Su family's young master of the Lingfeng continent. However, if she remembered correctly, she should have only seen this man once. But how many times did he say? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help being wary as she looked at the smiling but slightly gloomy Su Qian in front of her. No matter what this man's goal was, There was no need for her to be afraid with her current strength. However, what surprised her was that Sun Tung and this young master of the Su family were actually cousins. Well, could she say that this world was very small? What a coincidence. I've met Miss Lung a few times, Sun Tung said with a faint smile. In fact, he was really not familiar with Lung Ruoxue and the others, but he admired them very much. Yes, I wonder why the two of you are looking for me. Is young Master Su here to avenge Miss Su? Lung Ruoxue teased with a light smile. Of course not. My sister has always been unruly. It's only right for Miss Lung to teach her a lesson. I just heard from my cousin that you live here, so I came to greet you, Su Qian hurriedly explained. Oh, thank you, young Master Su. Lung Ruoxue said lightly and then turned her gaze to Sun Tung. These few days, Feng De and the others had caused a huge commotion in the Sun family. Even though Sun Tung said that he wasn't here to denounce them, he probably didn't visit for no reason. Can you show mercy? Sun Tung said helplessly, feeling extremely uncomfortable under Lung Ruoxue's scrutinizing gaze. Alas, he couldn't be bothered with the Sun family's affairs if his mother didn't beg him. Chapter 824, Accident. Pure Accident 1. What if I say no? Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Sun Ting gave her a good impression. Unfortunately, he was from the Sun family, so it was destined that they wouldn't be friends. Moreover, she came to the Sun family for, "Can't you give me some face?" Sun Ting said with a bitter smile. "No, we don't have any relationship with you, the young master of the Sun family. Why should we give you face?" Before Lung Ruoxue could say anything, the freak spoke first. Well, let him be the bad guy. Sun Tung was speechless. This was a little too direct. Are you jealous of my cousin? Su Qian said self-righteously. Does this have anything to do with you? The freak narrowed his eyes and said in an unfriendly tone, Where did this clown come from? Did he look like he was jealous of Sun Ting? In his eyes, Sun Ting was just a passerby. If he was even jealous of such a thing, wouldn't he have long been drowned in jealousy? Sun Tung is my cousin, and we are all Miss Lung's friends, Su Qian said provocatively. Friend? Haha. What a joke. Schwer isn't friends with just anyone. The freak's handsome face was full of mockery. What do you mean? Am I not qualified to be Miss Lung's friend with my cousin's status? Su Qian roared with jealousy. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL, D0TC0M. I don't care about my status when making friends. Moreover, you guys are indeed not my friends, but he is my fiancé. Lung Ruoxue's tone was a little cold. Then she pointed at the freak. Young Master Su, did you hear that? The freak was a little proud. He knew that Schwer wouldn't side with outsiders. I'm sorry. I was thinking too much. Su Qian glared at the freak for a while, before saying resentfully. Lung Ruoxue became even more wary of him after hearing Su Qian's words. Well, a man who could give and take couldn't be underestimated, especially when she wasn't very polite with the freak. The fact that the young master of the Su family could compromise showed that this man was very scheming. Miss Lung, I'll bring you to Sunzhou City for a walk tomorrow. There are many places worth going to in this city. Wouldn't we have come for nothing if we don't take a look? Sun Ting changed the topic, seeing that the atmosphere was a little gloomy. No need. I prefer to stay in the Sun family. Lung Ruoxue refused bluntly. There's nothing fun about the Sun family, Sun Ting said with 2 drops of cold sweat on his forehead. Who said not? The elders and clansmen of the Sun family are quite interesting. Lung Ruoxue said with a naughty smile. Sun Ting broke out in cold sweat. It had been a few days. Had these people not had enough fun yet? If they played with them for a few more days, the elders of the Sun family would probably run away. However, he admired their methods. They actually scared the bunch of fellows from the Sun family, who ate people without spitting out their bones. Alas, this was also skill. At least he couldn't do it. My subordinates and I like the Sun family very much and can't bear to leave them. By the way, tell them that I drugged them, so we can find them no matter where they hide. However, I quite like playing hide and seek. Well, let them hide for a few days. Lung Ruoxue said to herself. Of course, She was just scaring them. However, Sun Teng's cold sweat dripped down. Hee. If we find them, they will be able to bear it, Fengde added very cooperatively. As soon as Fengde finished speaking, he heard a plop, plop, fall from outside the garden. Immediately after, extremely frantic footsteps sounded. What's that sound? Fengde pretended to be stupid. Then she deliberately looked around. Young Master Sun, the security of the Sun family doesn't seem to be good, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. What she implied was that she wanted to tell him to increase the security. Well, I think so. Sun Ting really didn't know what to say. Alas, he knew who was eavesdropping outside without thinking, but he could only pretend. I heard that the Sun family's patriarch is sick. Lung Ruoxue suddenly asked. Yes, it's not very serious. Sun Ting nodded. Then young Master Sun has to pay more attention to public security. Otherwise, if bad people break into the Sun family, wouldn't they disturb the Sun family's patriarch's recuperation? Lung Ruoxue reminded with great concern. Okay, you'll take note. Sun Ting nodded. In fact, what he wanted to say was that his father's illness would probably have been cured long ago as long as you and your subordinates didn't cause too much trouble. However, he didn't dare to say it. Alas, he was also a little afraid of Lung Ruoxue. Young Master Sun, actually, I know how to treat illnesses. Why don't I treat the master of the Sun family? Lung Ruoxue continued. Thank you. My father's illness isn't serious. He just needs to rest quietly, so I want trouble, Miss Lung. Sun Ting refused politely. What a joke. If Lung Ruoxue treated his father, wouldn't the gains not make up for the losses if something happened to his father because of their disagreement? Moreover, he didn't think his father would be willing to let Lung Ruoxue treat him. All right then. If young Master Sun needs me to treat the Sun family head, remember to look for me anytime, Lung Ruoxue said. By the way, I'll go see the Sun family's patriarch personally tomorrow. Sigh. We're guests. How can we not show ourselves when the master is sick? Lung Ruoxue added. Miss Lung, I appreciate your kind intentions, but there's really no need, Sun Teng said hurriedly in fright. No, I must go. Please tell the next generation patriarch that I'll visit him tomorrow. Lung Ruoxue was very determined. Moreover, it seemed like she had to go. Miss Lung, the patients all have bad tempers, so, Sun Teng said very tactfully and left half a sentence behind. However, he believed Lung Ruoxue would understand what he meant. Lung Ruoxue naturally understood what he meant, but she still pretended to be stupid and said, I understand. The patient is the most important. I won't be calculative with the Sun family's patriarch. Sun Ting really wanted to cry. He really couldn't think of any reason to refuse Lung Ruoxue's insistence. Moreover, he couldn't say that my father didn't want to see you and didn't welcome you. Alas! Now he could only pray in his heart. Father, take care. Chapter 825, Accident. Pure accident, too. Young Master Sun, it's settled. Well, I have to rest early today. Help yourselves. Lung Ruoxue pulled the freak into the room without looking back. Young Master Sun, take care. I won't see you out, Fengde said politely and then returned to his room like Lung Ruoxue. The others returned to their rooms without even greeting him. Cousin, what should we do now? Su Qian couldn't help asking angrily when he saw that only Sun Teng and him were left in the lively garden just now. Let's go back. Sun Teng sighed, and then left the snow garden directly. The next morning, Lung Ruoxue and the others had just finished breakfast when Fengde said impatiently, Miss, when are we going to see Sun Sheng? What's the hurry? Fengde, you have to know psychological warfare. Sun Sheng should already know that we will visit him today. Do you think he will welcome us? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. Definitely not, Fengde said. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL, D0TC0M. Yes, so he's either anxiously waiting for us to go quickly, or he's even more ill, or he might be thinking of ways to deal with us. In short, anything is possible. However, we can't be anxious. Lung Ruoxue analyzed. When are we going? Fengde was curious. Well, go after dinner, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Hehe. Miss, you're so bad. You purely wanted to make him wait in fear for a day for nothing. Fonda said with a naughty smile. Fonda, rest for a day today. Give the Sun family a breather too. Lung Ruoxue insisted that she was kind. Yes, we'll play in the snow garden today, Fonda said understandably. Just like that, Lung Ruoxue and the others stayed in the snow garden for the entire day. However, the Sun family had always been on high alert, especially the eldest madam of the Sun family's yard. Not only was it filled with guards, but there were also dozens of elders guarding the room. However, even so, Sun Sheng still felt uneasy. However, Lung Ruoxue actually didn't appear after being nervous for nearly a day. As the sky gradually darkened, Sun Sheng and the others had just let down their guard when a guard came to report that Lung Ruoxue and the others had come to see him. This couldn't help making Sun Sheng almost vomit blood from anger. Damn. They had waited respectfully for the entire day and didn't even have time to eat, but no one came. It was already night, and they had just relaxed and were about to eat something when they came. Wasn't this deliberately playing with them? It was really too despicable. However, even though he was angry, he still had to let Lung Ruoxue and the others in. Boo. He really had no status as the patriarch. He actually had to look at the guests' expressions. Lung Ruoxue and the others swaggered into the eldest madam's room and ignored the elders in the room. They each found a place to sit. I heard that the Sun family's patriarch is ill, so we specially came to ask about him. Lung Ruoxue looked at Sun Sheng, who was lying on the bed with a pale face and a weak body, and said lightly, Miss Lung, you're so kind. Sun Sheng said weakly on purpose. He thought, I'm already so sick. Don't tell me you're angry at me. Alas. He had a deep understanding of Lung Ruoxue's ability to anger people, so he was really a little afraid. Patriarch Sun, you look very weak. Could it be that you've indulged yourself too much? I've reminded you long ago to take care of your body. Alas. Loyalty is unpleasant to the ears. Lung Ruoxue said with a resentful expression, her beautiful face still full of pity. Miss Lung, you're mistaken. I'm just not feeling well. It has nothing to do with indulgence, Sun Sheng said through gritted teeth. However, his heart was bleeding nonstop. Boo. What kind of person was this? He was already sick, but he specially came over to anger him and spoke with a caring tone. However, the words he said made people want to vomit blood. There has to be a reason for your discomfort. I know that the Sun family are all women, so I won't laugh at you even if you're overindulgent. However, it's better to control yourself. Otherwise, the unlucky one will be yourself. As for concubines, they're just fleeting clouds. Don't worry too much, Lung Ruoxue advised like an elder. Miss Lung, that's really not the reason. Sun Sheng suppressed his anger with a black face. Oh, could it be that the Sun family has some incurable disease? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. That won't be easy to handle, Lung Ruoxue added to herself. Miss Lung, how can you curse my family's patriarch? Sun Sheng was so angry that he couldn't say anything, but an elder couldn't help but interrupt. Curse. Did I say anything? Lung Ruoxue said innocently. Patriarch Sun, I'm just concerned about your condition. This old man actually wronged me. Boo-hoo. Lung Ruoxue said aggrievedly, tears rolling in her beautiful eyes. You. The unknown elder pointed at Lung Ruoxue, and was so angry that his entire body trembled. He was unable to even speak. How dare you bully my young miss? Stinky old man, are you tired of living? Fonda roared. Everyone immediately swarmed forward and beat up the old man painfully. Their speed was so fast that it was speechless. Moreover, by the time the elders in the room reacted, Fonda and the others had already finished beating him up. They even patted the dust off their bodies as if nothing had happened, and then sat back down. Fonda and the others' well-trained actions dumbfounded Sun Sheng and the others. The unlucky old man fainted before he could even call for help. Miss Lung, your subordinates are really too much. They actually beat up an elder of the Sun family in front of me. Sun Sheng was furious. That was Mystic Sovereign. He was actually knocked out by them in a few moves. When did Mystic Sovereign become so weak? Patriarch Sun, I'm sorry. My subordinate is also anxious to protect my master. However, that old man is still alive, don't worry. Lung Ruoxue didn't show any guilt on her face, and said matter-of-factly, Miss Lung, do you mean that the ninth elder asked for it? Sun Sheng was angry. Patriarch Sun. How can you misunderstand what I mean? I only said that my subordinates were anxious to protect their master. I didn't say that the old man asked for it. Lung Ruoxue quibbled. Chapter 826. Accident. Pure Accident 3. Miss Lung, according to you, can I understand that my subordinates can also protect their master if someone bullies me? Sun Sheng said with a face full of calculations. Yes, that's necessary. If a subordinate can remain indifferent when he sees his master being bullied, then it's fine to not have such a subordinate, Lung Ruoxue agreed. Did you hear, Miss Lung? Sun Sheng glared at the elders in the room. Yes, the elders said in unison. However, they didn't understand what Sun Sheng meant. Could it be that the patriarch wanted them to attack Lung Ruoxue? Thinking of this, they simultaneously glanced at Feng De and the others. However, when they saw the unfriendly expressions of Feng De and the others, their hearts couldn't help trembling. These barbarians! Does the Sun family had want them to beat me up? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Cheng Wu, spar with these elders. You can't see them usually. Lung Ruoxue ordered Cheng Wu and the others directly without waiting for Sun Sheng to answer. Okay, Mississippi. Cheng Wu smiled evilly and nodded. Then he went directly to an elder. Let's play. Cheng Wu pointed at the trembling old man in front of him. I don't want to play with you. The old man stammered. Why did this fellow look for him? He wanted to pretend to faint if he didn't consider his face. You have to play even if you don't want to. Cheng Wu roared. Then he grabbed the old man's collar and slapped the old man in front of Sun Sheng. After a few slaps, blood flowed out of the old man's mouth, and the teeth in his mouth fought to escape from his home. Barbarian. The old man's hair was disheveled as he cried incoherently. Barbarian? Hee. Today I'll let you know what a barbarian is. Cheng Wu smiled viciously, but his hands moved even faster. Slap. 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 He slapped dozens of times consecutively. The unlucky old man had already been beaten dizzy and his face was swollen like a pig's head. However, no one dared to speak up for him, including Sun Sheng. Cheng Wu, find someone else. Lung Ruoxue kindly stopped the old man when she saw that he had fainted. However, her words made the other elders in the room gnash their teeth in hatred. Ding. Their Sun family had always been domineering. However, they only knew today that compared to Lung Ruoxue and the others, they couldn't even compare to their little fingers. As the saying goes, the cowardly are afraid of being unreasonable, the unreasonable are afraid of the strong, the hard are afraid of the suicidal. The Sun family was a classic example of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Moreover, their ancestors had a better foundation, so the Sun family was really used to being arrogant. In addition, the status of the three great superfamilies of the Sun family had always been irreplaceable. Therefore, they had always felt good about themselves. But now, they had encountered Lung Ruoxue, who was fearless, so it was naturally a tragedy. However, what caused them to be even more depressed was that the group of people under Lung Ruoxue didn't care about any rules when fighting, nor did they use any techniques. It was purely physical attacks, and this caused them who were used to using techniques to really want to cry, because they didn't give them the chance to utilize techniques at all. In terms of fists, they were nothing. In short, they were destined to be unlucky to meet Lung Ruoxue. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Cheng Wu released the elder that he had been holding in his hand. Then he turned his gaze to the other elders and even Sun Sheng. However, all the elders who were swept by his sinister gaze wished that there was a hole in the ground for them to burrow into. The elders who were about to be noticed by him were also trying their best to reduce their presence, afraid that they would become the next unlucky person. It's you. Looking at your shifty eyes, you're definitely not a good person. Cheng Wu searched for a moment and found another old man. You can't judge a book by its cover. I'm very good. I'm a good person. The old man cried until his nose was snotty and tears were flowing down his face. He was just short of kneeling down and begging for mercy. Well, it wasn't that he didn't want to, but he was held in Chengwu's hand and couldn't move at all. Good person? Is there a good person in the Sun family? The Sun family has always bullied men and bullied women. This is known by everyone in the boundless heaven continent. Furthermore, this old man judged people by their appearance. What? Bite me? Chengwu roared loudly. Then he punched the old man unceremoniously. Ah! The old man covered his eyes and cried out in pain. Scream. I'll let you scream. Chengwu punched again. Ah! The old man sustained black eyes. I'll let you scream. Chengwu's fist brought with it a strong wind as it punched directly at the old man's mouth. Woo-woo. The old man couldn't shout anymore. Blood flowed out of his mouth, and his teeth fell one after another. Big brother Cheng, take a break. Let me play for a while. Songdi said with itching hands. Okay. Chengwu handed the old man in his hand to Songdi, and then retreated to the side to be an audience. However, his gloomy and bloodthirsty eyes were like a venomous snake as he stared at the other elders in the room, causing their bodies to turn cold with fear. Old man, don't be afraid. I've always respected the old and loved the young. Songdi looked at the trembling Sun family elder in his hand, and hurriedly comforted him. Woo-woo. The old man's eyes were filled with tears as he shook his head anxiously. If he could say the complete sentence, he would definitely say, only a ghost would believe you. Brother Song, you can try the 10 new tortures we developed. Fonda reminded. And that makes sense. Songdi nodded. Then he took out a small saber that was shaped like a willow leaf and as thin as a cicada's wing from his ring. Even though the saber was small, the saber tip emitted a terrifying cold aura. One look at the saber, and one could tell that it was extraordinary. Old man, this is the first time I'm using this saber. Don't blame me if my strength is uneven. Songdi said with some hesitation. Then he held a bright knife and started gesturing on the old man's body. However, before he could really do it, the old man was so scared that he peed his pants. Chapter 827, Accident. Pure accident 4. Damn. You're so old. Why are you still wetting your pants? Songdi threw the old man in his hand away with a face full of disdain, and then covered his nose to hide far away. However, his gaze landed on the other Sun family elder. Well, this old man was considered an acquaintance of theirs, because this person was none other than the 6th elder, who brought them to the Sun family. The 6th elder, who was hiding in the middle of the elders and didn't want to be too obvious, trembled like a leaf in the wind after sensing Songdi's gaze. Boo! Why were they looking at him? Don't look at him. He kept praying in his heart. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't hear his thoughts. Soon, 6th elder was dragged out like a chicken by Songdi. Songdi, don't be like this. We can be considered acquaintances, right? 6th elder tried to worm his way in. Yes, 6th elder is right. I just want to repay the 6th elder for taking care of us on the way. So don't be afraid. Songdi comforted before flashing the dagger in his hand. No. There's no need to repay me. Really? The 6th elder said with a long face. Boo. What kind of people were these? How could they repay others like this? No, Miss often warns us to repay favors. Moreover, I also want the other elders to know that we will definitely be on the same side. We won't be biased even if 6th elder is someone we know. Songdi was very upright and stubborn. Oh, the 6th elder's old tears were about to fall. He couldn't express anything more. 6th elder, don't be agitated. My young miss is most principled, Songdi said with a naughty smile. Then a cold light flashed in his hand. Swish. 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 The small saber of the willow leaf kept swimming on the 6th elder's body, shining with cold light. In just a few minutes, the 6th elder's clothes had become strips that hung loosely on his body, and he was in danger of falling at any time. However, Songdi's technique was good, so he absolutely didn't injure the 6th elder's skin and flesh. However, it had already caused a huge effect on the 6th elder's heart, because the 6th elder was already a little dumbfounded. Other than standing there in a daze, he didn't react at all. 6th elder. Songdi shouted into 6th elder's ear. The 6th elder didn't react. 6th elder. Songdi roared again. The 6th elder still didn't react. Seeing this, Songdi lost his patience. He threw the sixth elder on the ground and casually pulled an elder over to continue practicing his saber techniques. Ah, ah, ah. With a cold flash, the Sun family elder, who was used as a practice tool, screamed like a pig being slaughtered, making everyone's eardrums hurt. Shut up. I'll chop you up if you continue calling me that. Songdi roared angrily. Boo. Ah. The Sun family elder was very aggrieved. He wanted to cry but didn't dare to, and he didn't dare to shout even more. The only feeling he had was that the cold dagger kept swimming on his body and left countless small wounds. Ooh. With the sixth elder's previous lesson, he was actually mentally prepared. However, just as he thought that he would be like the sixth elder, his clothes were not the only thing that was cut open, but his flesh was also cut. I said that I'm a newbie and will weigh the pros and cons, can't you bear with it? Songdi accused with dissatisfaction, his face full of contempt for the elder. It hurts. That elder said softly with tears in his eyes. Just bear with it. Don't affect my mood. Otherwise it won't be just a superficial wound, Songdi threatened. Oh, that elder bit his lower lip with tears in his eyes. His face was full of grievance, but he didn't dare to make a sound. That's good. Songdi was very satisfied with this Sun family elder's cooperation. Swish, swish, swish. The saber tip danced up and down, and the expression on Songdi's face became more and more joyful. After a while, Songdi finally had enough. He threw the old man on the ground and clapped his hands before sitting back down. You are too much. Sun Sheng, who was lying on the bed, was so angry that his body was trembling. He pointed at Lung Ruoxue and the others for a while before saying this. Patriarch Sun, you should recuperate in peace. During your recuperation, I will watch over these elders for you. I guarantee that they won't have the intention of usurping the throne. Lung Ruoxue promised seriously. Sun Sheng's chest was extremely stuffy. At the same time, he felt a metallic taste rush up his throat. However, he forcefully suppressed it. He couldn't let his breath slip in front of a little girl. Patriarch Sun, don't vomit blood. You have to take care of your body. I'll look after these elders for you first. Well, you don't have to thank me. If you want to be grateful, just pay a little. Lung Ruoxue said angrily. The words "I'm doing this for your own good" still written on her face. Fengde, bring these elders back to the snow garden and take good care of them. Let them out after Patriarch Sun recovers. Lung Ruoxue didn't give Sun Sheng a chance to speak and instructed Fengde and the others. Yes, Fengde and the others answered hurriedly. Then they left the eldest madam's room arrogantly with the elders with long faces. Patriarch Sun, I'll take my leave too. I'll visit you when I have time. Lung Ruoxue said to herself and then pulled the freak away. After Lung Ruoxue and the others left, Sun Sheng couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Patriarch. The eldest madam, who had been standing beside him, wiped the blood off Sun Sheng's lips with a handkerchief. Alas! She really didn't know how to comfort her husband, because Lung Ruoxue's actions made her a little afraid. She had lived for decades but had never seen a woman with such a terrifying aura. Even the mistress of the Lung family, Lung Shuang, couldn't compare to Lung Ruoxue. What should she do? It was absolutely impossible to deal with Lung Ruoxue with the current people of the Sun family. Madam, bring me to the secret room. Sun Xingqiang forced himself to stand up. No, he couldn't wait anymore. If this continued, the Sun family would be implicated by Lung Ruoxue, so he had to ask when that person would return. Chapter 828. Accident. Pure accident 5. Patriarch, look at you now. The eldest madam was a little worried. Alas! The patriarch wasn't very ill at first, but he was angry again. Bring me there. Sun Sheng roared impatiently. All right. The eldest madam had no choice but to help Sun Sheng out of the room and into the secret room of the Sun family. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others had already returned to the snow garden with the elders of the Sun family. Miss, where should we place them? Fengde said disdainfully as he looked at the Sun family elders who were dejected. Tie it up and leave it in the yard, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. How dare you? Lung Ruoxue, we are the elders of the Sun family. The originally listless elder immediately jumped 3 times and roared as if he was on steroids when he heard that he was going to be tied up and thrown in the yard. Yes, I know. The person tied up is an elder of the Sun family, Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. If you weren't elders, I wouldn't have attacked you. Lung Ruoxue, this is the Sun family. Do you want to die? Another elder threatened. What's wrong with the Sun family? Now that your patriarch is sick, of course I have to share the burden of the Sun family's patriarch. This has the tacit consent of your patriarch. Lung Ruoxue said shamelessly. When the elders heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they were so angry. It was obviously the patriarch who was so angry that he couldn't say anything, but you actually tacitly agreed. Until this moment, they had to admit that Lung Ruoxue's skin was thicker than theirs. And Lung Ruoxue's subordinates were also more violent and domineering than them. Boo-hoo, they admitted defeat. Miss Lung, the patriarch is sick, and the young master doesn't care about anything. The Sun family is indeed leaderless now. Why don't we do this? We'll listen to you for the time being. We promise not to say anything no matter what you ask us to do. Do you think this is okay? A short old man's eyes kept rolling around, and he discussed with a plan. Let's stabilize this girl first. Otherwise, they would really be tortured to death by her. Second elder. How can you make such a decision? An anxious elder said with dissatisfaction as soon as that old man finished speaking. Why can't I decide like this? I'm the second elder of the Elder Association. You have to listen to me. The second elder roared. Miss Lung, is this okay? Second elder turned to look at Lung Ruoxue and asked. Old man, you're quite sensible. However, what I want to tell you is that you can't. Your Sun family is too evil. You're scheming and cunning, so I have to be wary. Lung Ruoxue refused. Miss Lung. The second elder was helpless. He admitted that the reputation of the Sun family was not good, but in terms of scheming and cunning, who could compare to this little girl in front of him? Otherwise, why would these old men, who were several hundred years old, be here? Old man, you talk too much nonsense. Stop annoying my young miss. Lu Tao said with a face full of displeasure. She took out a cloth from somewhere and blocked the second elder's mouth. The strange smell emitted by the cloth made the second elder almost faint. However, his arms were controlled by Cheng Wu, and he could not resist at all. Lu Tao, where did you get this cloth? It stinks, Cheng Wu said, suppressing his anger. Hee. That's for my beast to wipe its butt, Lu Tao explained with a naughty smile. You're amazing. Cheng Wu was convinced. Everyone, quickly grab a rope and tie them up. It's getting late, we should rest. Lung Ruoxue urged speechlessly. Alas. Her subordinates were getting worse. However, she didn't admit that she had learned all this from her. She was a good child. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, everyone immediately took out the ropes that they had prepared beforehand and tied the unlucky elders into dumplings. Then they piled them in the middle of the yard. However, Lung Ruoxue was afraid that they would run away or be saved, so after some thought, she moved her food out of the bracelet. After doing all this, Lung Ruoxue brought the freak back to her room with ease. Fengde and the others left after warning the elders. In the yard, the elders of the Sun family looked at the cold eyes staring at them covetously and felt like dying. Don't be afraid. I won't eat you. Your meat is too stinky. I don't like it. The black python comforted with disdain in its eyes. This is the Sun family. The ancestors of the Sun family won't let you go if you treat us like this. Some people still threatened fearlessly after thinking of their identities. Then let them do it. The black python narrowed its eyes and said calmly. Miss was waiting for the bullshit ancestor of the Sun family. Otherwise, would she have let you live until now? Aren't you afraid? That person said in disbelief. He actually didn't scare them. How was this possible? At this moment, he really didn't know if Lung Ruoxue and the others or the beasts were too bold, or if they were really that strong. He was confused. You idiot, does a beast know what fear is? An elder reprimanded. Beasts? You're the beasts. Your entire family are beasts. The black python was immediately furious when it heard that it had been called a beast. Damn it, Miss frequently told them that the beast rights of beasts required respect. If anyone dared to disrespect them, they had to pay the price, so the elder was in tragedy. The black python's huge snake tail instantly wrapped around the elder who had scolded it, and then kept swinging in the air. Immediately, a black ray of light emitted a different luster in the pitch-black night sky. At the same time, it was accompanied by someone's scream that echoed in the night sky. After a long time, the black python was tired and threw the elder down from the sky. With a bang, the fainted elder of the sun family fell to the ground. Bang! Immediately after, another loud bang sounded. The black python's snake tail smashed down from the sky. Moreover, luckily, it coincidentally smashed onto the unlucky elder. In an instant, the sun family elder who was pressed under the thick snake became a pile of mud dead. Chapter 829, Accident. Pure accident 6. Hee. An accident. It was purely an accident. The black python said in embarrassment. However, its expression did not show any embarrassment. You actually killed an elder of our sun family. The elders couldn't remain calm seeing an elder of the sun family die. They had always thought that these people would at most beat them up, but they didn't expect that they really dared to kill them. Moreover, it was a beast that killed them. Immediately, the fear in the hearts of the elders rose to an unprecedented height. Don't you understand human language? I told you this was an accident. The black python said fiercely with its eyes wide open. You're not human, okay? All the elders were nervous, but no one dared to say it. They just kept shaking their heads in fear. I'll control myself to avoid such accidents as long as you're obedient, the black python said in a benevolent manner. Yes, yes. All the elders nodded their heads vigorously, afraid that this big snake would cause an accident to happen to them. Even a mystic supremacy couldn't stand such an accident, right? After killing the chicken to warn the monkeys, the night finally passed under the trembling gazes of the elders and the pythons. In the morning, when Lung Ruoxue and the others walked out of the room in high spirits, they saw the pythons happily flirting with them. The elders who were tied up like dumplings were even more listless than yesterday. All of them were like frosted eggplants. Oh, what's wrong with you guys? There seems to be someone missing. Could it be that you guys ran away? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with suspicion as she asked in puzzlement. Miss, don't worry. They can't run, Fonda promised very confidently. But there's someone missing. Lung Ruoxue pretended to be puzzled and turned her gaze to the black python. Miss, a very unfortunate accident happened last night. The black python had tears in its eyes and looked very guilty. Then, it reported what happened last night to Lung Ruoxue, and the others with tears in its eyes. Oh, since it was an accident, you don't have to blame yourself. After all, no one wanted this to happen. Lung Ruoxue comforted nonchalantly, but she was already laughing in her heart. Yes, I won't take it to heart. There are accidents from time to time, and there are especially many this year. How can a small snake like me care about natural disasters? The black python was much calmer after receiving Lung Ruoxue's comfort. The hearts of the elders of the Sun family trembled when they heard the conversation between Lung Ruoxue and the black python. This was the highest realm of shamelessness. This was called there's always someone better out there. Compared to this pair of masters and beasts, they felt inferior. Fonda, the elders of the Sun family didn't seem to be here yesterday. Go and look for them, Lung Ruoxue instructed as if she suddenly remembered. Yes, Fonda answered, and then led his men to search for the elders of the Sun family who were spared. However, after searching for nearly an hour in the Sun family's main residence, they did not find any traces of the other elders. This was mainly because after some of the elders were taken away by Lung Ruoxue last night, the other elders who heard the news took advantage of the night and ran away. Miss, we didn't find any traces of the other elders. After Fonda returned with nothing, he reported to Lung Ruoxue gloomily. Oh, they should have left the main residence. It's okay, this is for you. Lung Ruoxue calmly took out a piece of paper from her bracelet and handed it to Fonda. Fonda opened the paper and took a look. Then he said very happily, Miss, don't worry. I promise to complete the mission. The elders who escaped can run, but they can't run. I will definitely bring them back. Okay. Lung Ruoxua nodded with satisfaction. Then she turned her gaze to the elders piled up in the yard and said, Alas! Those elders actually ran away. They're really too disloyal. However, don't worry, I'll capture them for you. I'll also punish them for you. All the elders present became even more listless when they heard that. In fact, they had discussed it beforehand why those elders were not around. After all, Lung Ruoxua was really too terrifying. They were all afraid that something would happen to them. Therefore, they had already discussed it before protecting the patriarch. If anything happened to them, they would get the other elders who were lucky to leave the Sun family immediately to look for the ancestors. Boo! The place where the ancestors were in seclusion was some distance away from the Sun family's main residence. Lung Ruoxua looked at their reactions, and was about to overturn with laughter in her heart. Haha! These old men were dreaming. Why did they only remember to look for their parents now? 2 hours later, Feng De returned with his team, and the elders who had fled were basically captured by them. Miss, we captured a total of 31 elders. One ran away. It was all my fault. Miss, please punish me. Feng De said very self-reproachfully. Forget it, humans make mistakes, horses make mistakes. I won't blame you. Lung Ruoxua was very magnanimous. Then she couldn't help but ask, where did the elder who ran away go? That old man went to the north of Sunzhou City. I really don't know what's there. Where did these old men originally want to go? Feng De said with a puzzled expression, his handsome face full of question marks. Oh, he probably ran in a daze. Ignore him, Lung Ruoxua said nonchalantly, because the two of them spoke in front of the elders of the Sun family present. All the elders of the Sun family were self-satisfied when they heard this. How could outsiders know what the North was? The North was the place where the ancestors of the Sun family cultivated in seclusion. Alas! If it wasn't for the urgent situation this time, they really didn't want to disturb those ancestors. After all, those ancestors concerned the future of the Sun family. They couldn't lose it. Yes, Mississippi'll go prepare lunch. Feng De nodded and started a fire in the corner of the yard. Not long after, the fragrance of grilled meat drifted into everyone's noses, especially the elders of the Sun family who had been hungry for the entire morning. When they smelled this fragrance, they felt even more hungry and almost drooled. However, Feng De and the others obviously didn't prepare the food of the elders of the Sun family. Moreover, they directly started eating in the yard after they were done. Chapter 830 Flame Dragon Storm 1. Lung Ruoxua, you can't abuse us. An elder mustered his courage, and said after swallowing his saliva. This person was one of the elders who ran away, so he was still unaware that an accident happened last night. A certain elder of the Sun family was already dead. What? Didn't the servants of the Sun family send you food? Alas! These servants are really too much. They actually dare to starve you. Feng De, after eating later, tell the servants of the Sun family to send some food to their elders. Otherwise, I won't be responsible if these old men are starved to death. Lung Ruoxua ordered indignantly. Miss, don't worry. It won't be easy to find someone from the Sun family now, but I'll do my best to find him. Feng De promised. Okay. Lung Ruoxua was still relieved that Feng De was handling the matter. Feng De kept his word. After lunch, he instructed his brothers to look for the servants of the Sun family separately. However, they searched for the entire afternoon, causing the elders of the Sun family to be so hungry that their chests were about to touch their backs. In the evening, Feng De and the others returned to the snow garden on time. Well, they were back for dinner. Miss, we searched for an entire afternoon, but we didn't go to eldest Madam Sun's yard. We searched the other courtyards of the Sun family, but we didn't see any servants except for a few who don't know how to cook. Feng De reported the results of the afternoon's search to Lung Ruoxua. It's okay. It's better than nothing. Let them get some food for these elders of the Sun family. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain it to Sun Sheng if I starve these old men to death. Lung Ruoxue didn't want to bear the responsibility of starving the elders of the Sun family. Hee. Miss, I've already instructed them. Fengde said with a I'm smart expression. Yes, well done. It's time for dinner, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Miss'll get dinner. Fengde was very diligent. After speaking, he ran to the other people who were starting the fire and helped them. After Fengde and the others prepared dinner, the servants of the Sun family also sent their half-cooked food to the snow garden trembling. Feed them. Fengde hurriedly said when he saw those servants wanting to slip away after putting down their things. Yes. The Sun family servant wanted to cry but had no tears. They were just small fries. Please don't make things difficult for them. A few servants prayed in their hearts. Then, they picked up a soup spoon and stuffed the food into the mouth of the elder they were feeding. As for why they used stuffing, well, it was mainly because those elders were too picky. They thought that the food they made was not delicious, so they vomited everything after taking a bite. The violent man also ordered them to let the elders eat it. Otherwise, if the elders starved to death, they would be the first to not let them go. Boo. Just like that, Fengde and the others sat in the yard, eating and watching the commotion. As for those unlucky elders, they could only smell the fragrance of the grilled meat and eat the food that was difficult to swallow while vomiting. Oh, that scene was simply indescribable. The first day of imprisonment of the elders of the Sun family was finally over. Late at night, Lung Ruoxue and the others returned to their rooms to rest before handing them to the pythons. Hee. Everyone, we meet again. I hope nothing bad will happen tonight, the black python prayed. Unfortunately, its words didn't receive any response because some cowardly elders had already lost their focus, and their minds went blank in just a day. I missed you very much. This morning, after it reported to its young miss, her young miss had stored it in the space, so it could be said that it had not seen these people for a day. However, it knew what these elders had experienced. Moreover, it had been laughing secretly for a day. Still no one answered it. Don't you miss me? The black python narrowed its eyes and its thick snake tail kept sweeping around the elders. Still no one answered it. However, the black python didn't care anymore. Instead, it continued to chat among itself. A giant python kept muttering in their ears, making some elders almost go crazy. However, they dared not say anything despite being angry. Ooh. They only hoped that the ancestors could quickly come and save them from danger. 3 days later, Lung Ruoxue sat on a stone bench in the yard and looked at the elders of the Sun family who had been tortured by them. She was in an extremely happy mood. However, what made her unhappy was that the so-called ancestors of the Sun family had not arrived yet. Speaking of which, Fengde was to be blamed for this. He could have let anyone go on purpose, but he just had to let a road idiot go. Moreover, according to Qingju, that elder Lu Qi was still looking for the entrance to the Sun family's cultivation ground. Sigh, so worrisome. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh. Schwer, why are you sighing? Empty, who was sitting opposite Lung Ruoxue, asked in a good mood. That fool actually hasn't found a place yet. Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly. Haha. Empty laughed happily. He felt that this was quite good. Looking at the miserable appearance of the elders of the Sun family in the yard, he was in a very happy mood. In fact, Schwer and the others had really not abused, beaten, or scolded these elders these few days. Well, they were just letting them eat the food made by their servants. However, he felt that this was more interesting than beating those elders up. Hee. These elders vomited whenever they saw food now, almost going extinct. Schwer, don't be anxious. They will come. However, if they come a few days later, they will probably have to collect the corpses of these elders. The Sun family's elders are all starved to death. It will definitely shake the entire vast heaven continent. The freak consoled with a mischievous smile. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Sun Sheng hadn't done anything these few days, as if he was waiting for something. Another 2 days passed. Lung Ruoxue and the others heard a deafening roar just after lunch. They were finally here. Lung Ruoxue and the others were overjoyed. They had been waiting several days for this moment. Chapter 831, Flame Dragon Storm, to Swish. 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 Immediately after, several figures appeared in the snow garden. How dare you cause trouble in my sun family? You're really tired of living, the leader roared loudly, his eyes emitting a ruthless gaze. The person in the lead was about 2 meters tall. He was a very strong and burly man. He looked ordinary, but he had a strong aura. One look and one could tell that he had been in the upper echelons for a long time. We didn't cause trouble? Lung Ruox's beautiful face was full of innocence. Hee. The people who came were quite strong. Although they were all mystic supremacies, their strength was obviously above the elders of the Sun family. However, she was still a little dissatisfied. There were too few of them and not enough to split. They didn't cause trouble? Then what are they? The burly man narrowed his eyes and pointed at the elders of the Sun family, who were tied up in the yard, and were starving to death. Them. It's like this. Isn't the acting patriarch of the Sun family sick? I was afraid they would take the opportunity to cause trouble, so I watched them for Sunsheng. I'll naturally let them go when Sunsheng's illness is cured. Lung Ruoxia explained with a light smile. This is a matter of our Sun family. There's no need for an outsider like you to interfere, the burly man said ungratefully, but he was thinking in his heart. This little girl was really too good at quibbling. She didn't seem to be easy to deal with. Alas, he really didn't take these people seriously before he saw them, but now he had a headache. Didn't the Sun family say that I would marry into the Sun family? Then I shouldn't be an outsider. Lung Ruoxia said calmly. Is that so? The burly man looked at the Sun family elder beside him and asked lightly. Old ancestor, I'm not very sure about this. Elder Lu Qi wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said carefully. Oh, Lung Ruoxia, right? Regardless of whether this is true, let go of these elders from the Sun family first. Everything else can be discussed, the burly man said after some thought. He didn't care about the family affairs for almost 1,000 years, and the elder who brought them here was a fool. So for a moment he really couldn't tell if Lung Ruox's words were true. However, he also knew that the most important thing was to get those elders out of Lung Ruox's hands. As for Lung Ruoxia and the others, as long as they didn't have the hostages of the Sun family in their hands, they would be at his mercy whether to kill or torture them. Unfortunately, how could Lung Ruoxia do as he wished? A light smile hung on Lung Ruox's beautiful face. Then she asked very innocently, what else are you talking about? The burly man didn't expect Lung Ruoxia to ask such a question. He was stunned before coaxing. We won't pursue this matter as long as you let the elders of the Sun family go. Oh, but we don't have anything worth you pursuing. However, I won't refuse if you want to pay us. However, I heard that the Sun family's credibility is poor, so I definitely won't believe you. Lung Ruoxia pretended to be conflicted. Damn it, are you going to let him go or not? The burly man was angry and impatient. No, Lung Ruoxia said softly. Damn girl, you're courting death. The burly man was angry. The consequences were serious. Roar, the robust man roared, and then he directly released a fiery red profound technique in Lung Ruox's direction. The gorgeous fiery red drew a beautiful arc and flew towards Lung Ruoxia. Lung Ruoxia gently waved her hand, and a light blue water curtain blocked in front of her. The water curtain was so thin that it was almost transparent, looking like it would break at a touch. After that, Lung Ruoxia looked at the burly man not far away with a relaxed expression, her beautiful eyes filled with provocation. When Fengda and the others saw the other party attack, they directly pounced on the person brought by the burly man. At the same time, the burly man's fire attribute profound technique had already arrived in front of Lung Ruoxia. However, it didn't pass through the thin water curtain, and was instead successfully swallowed by the water curtain, and transformed into a part of itself. How is this possible? The burly man couldn't believe his eyes. He had always been very confident in his mystic techniques, and his mystic energy was the rare fire attribute of the Sun family, so his attack power could be ranked in the top 10 in the entire Sun family. However, who knew that his mystic energy was actually devoured and absorbed by the water curtain? Even though he did not use his full strength just now, it was enough to anger him. After seeing this situation, he couldn't help but take Lung Ruoxua seriously. Well, it seemed this little girl not only had a face, but also had some skills in terms of strength. Unfortunately, meeting him destined this little girl's bad luck. Because even though he was in disbelief, he only felt that Lung Ruoxua's water curtain swallowing and absorbing his profound energy should have been purely an accident. Moreover, even though he valued it, it was naturally impossible for him to be frightened by a little girl. The world is huge, and there are all sorts of strange things. Nothing is impossible, Lung Ruoxua said with a light smile. After that, she released the water element profound technique, meteor rain. In an instant, tens of thousands of raindrops flew towards the robust man. The burly man couldn't help widening his eyes at the spectacular scene in front of him. Damn it, was this a meteor shower? Why were there so many? Even though he was a mystic cultivator with the fire attribute mainly, he was also familiar with his baneful mystic technique. Therefore, he was very clear about this mystic technique, meteor rain. In his memory, meteor rain should only be an advanced mystic technique, and it couldn't even reach the earth grade. However, this meteor rain in front of him was countless times stronger than the meteor rain in his memory. Is this a meteor shower? The burly man couldn't help asking after a yellow curtain wall appeared in front of him. Yes and no. Lung Ruoxua smiled cunningly. Damn it, you tricked me. The burly man was even angrier when he heard Lung Ruoxua's answer. I'm telling the truth. By the way, I'll remind you to be careful. This earthen wall isn't very sturdy. Don't blame me if it's washed down by the water. Lung Ruoxua reminded kindly. Just as she finished speaking, tens of thousands of pearl-sized raindrops had already flown in front of the burly man. Chapter 832, Flame Dragon Storm 3. However, the burly man was obviously very confident in his defense wall, so he didn't take Lung Ruoxua's warning to heart at all. However, he immediately widened his eyes in disbelief, and a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Immediately after, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and the earth elemental wall he set was really destroyed by the water, as Lung Ruoxua said. Am I right? I'm a good child and won't lie. Why don't you believe me? Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. Then she added in her heart that she wasn't lying to anyone. You. The burly man was furious and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. However, his eyes were still staring at Lung Ruoxua, wishing he could see through her. Damn, what kind of monster was this? He looked like a mere great mystic, but he actually made a mystic supremacy so disheveled. Well, in fact, he didn't think he had lost. He felt that he was just careless and underestimated Lung Ruoxua's strength. He believed that Lung Ruoxua's strength was definitely not what it looked like on the surface. According to his guess, these people should have hidden their strength because he could already see the other brothers he brought from the corner of his eye. They were even more miserable than him. After all, he only had Lung Ruoxua as his opponent, but there were several people surrounding his other brothers. Moreover, what was more infuriating was that those people were obviously playing with them like monkeys. Lung Ruoxua, you have so many subordinates attacking my brother alone. It was an unfair victory, the burly man asked after calming down and wiping the blood off his lips. Huh? Who can you blame? It's mainly because you brought too few people, and they didn't have enough. However, I advise you to take care of yourself first. Right, can you still use mystic techniques? Lung Ruoxua asked with a naughty smile. Of course you can. Let's continue. The burly man suppressed the anger in his heart and roared. Yes, yes. Look at how kind I am. I didn't take advantage of her. Good children like me are rare nowadays. Lung Ruoxua said angrily. Damn it, shut up, the burly man roared. He didn't want to hear Lung Ruoxua speak now. Kind. In his opinion, Lung Ruoxua obviously wanted to see him make a fool of himself, and didn't take advantage of him. If Lung Ruoxua was really kind, would she dare to imprison an elder of their Sun family? Actually, he was wrong. Lung Ruoxua didn't want to see him make a fool of himself. Lung Ruoxua was afraid that he would die too quickly, and that she would lose the chance to practice for nothing. How embarrassing would it be if I just shut up if you ask me to shut up? Lung Ruoxua disagreed. Ah. The burly man felt that he was about to go crazy from Lung Ruoxia's anger, and he directly released the mystic technique in his hand towards Lung Ruoxia. Immediately, in the air, countless fiery red and dazzling mystic energy drew several beautiful arcs and flew towards Lung Ruoxia. However, halfway through, the thin threads of mystic energy miraculously gathered together, forming a fire dragon that was as thick as an adult's arm. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced at Lung Ruoxia. This mystic technique isn't bad, Lung Ruoxia praised. However, she was still calm and composed. Moreover, she was very confident in her water curtain. After all, she'd improved this water curtain. Otherwise, it would be simply a fantasy if she wanted to resist the attack of a mystic supremacy with just this water curtain that was at the intermediate level of a mystic technique. The moment Lung Ruoxia spoke, the dazzling fire dragon that emitted a red light had already collided with the water curtain. However, the result was shocking, because the water curtain didn't break at all, and there weren't even any ripples. The fire dragon formed by mystic energy was stunned as if it had intelligence. Then it launched another fierce collision. If that fire dragon could speak, it would definitely say that this dragon was a heaven-ranked technique. How could a tiny water curtain possibly block me? On the other hand, if the water curtain could speak, then it would definitely tell the slightly cocky fire dragon that there was nothing special about a heaven-ranked technique. In the mutated water curtain that Master had modified. Want to break through me? You won't die from exhaustion. After one attack after another, faint water patterns finally appeared on the water curtain. However, it was still intact. The aura of the fire dragon formed by mystic energy became weaker and weaker, obviously exhausted. Not only that, the owner who used it was also panting heavily and covered in sweat. After all, mystic energy was controlled by the owner, and the reason why a heaven-ranked technique looked so spiritual was because it contained a trace of the owner's divine sense. The burly man became even more anxious when he saw that he failed to break through the water curtain after working hard for half a day. His lack of composure also destined him to fail. However, Lung Ruoxia didn't plan to let her opponent die too early. Otherwise, she wouldn't have only defended but not fought back seriously. Looking at Lung Ruoxia's calm and relaxed expression, the burly man became more and more annoyed. Therefore, after stopping for a few seconds, he started attacking again. The burly man controlled the fire dragon and kept attacking from all angles as if it was crazy. The water curtain was also extremely cooperative. Wherever you hit, I would shake. It looked like it was about to break through, but it just couldn't break through. Half an hour later, the burly man's already frustrated heart became more and more impatient. Especially when he saw Lung Ruoxia's relaxed expression, the anger in his heart intensified. Damn, what was going on? He could be considered a seasoned veteran, but he had overturned the boat with a little girl. How could he stand tall in front of the world if news of this got out? No, this can't continue. Even though this fire dragon flame was one of his most formidable techniques, it wasn't the most formidable. Moreover, his most formidable fire attribute technique couldn't be utilized rashly. Otherwise, he would have to recuperate for at least a few decades before he could recover. However, this little girl had already completely angered him, so he would rather lose decades to destroy this girl. Otherwise, the Sun family would probably be destroyed in the hands of this damn girl sooner or later. Usually, it was very difficult for a person to control their rationality when they were the most angry. Therefore, the only thing he could think of now was to get rid of his opponent. Unfortunately, he had forgotten that if he used his sure kill technique, not only would it affect his body, but it would also cause huge losses to the place where they were fighting. At this moment, his heart was already filled with anger. He couldn't remember that he was in the Sun family's ancestral mansion. Chapter 833, Flame Dragon Storm 4. Damn girl, look at my Flame Dragon Storm, the burly man roared. Then fire attribute mystic energy slowly gathered in his palms. Immediately, all the fire attribute mystic energy within a radius of 50 kilometers of the Sun family's main residence rushed over from all directions at the same time. Flame Dragon Storm? It sounds quite formidable. Lung Ruoxia's face was full of anticipation. However, When she saw the fire attribute profound energy surging from the peak, she was even more looking forward to this profound technique that her opponent valued. Flame Dragon Storm. No. The expressions of the Sun family's old ancestors, who were fighting with Fengde and the others, immediately changed drastically when they heard this name. Unfortunately, they shouted a little late because the burly man had already begun to gather mystic energy. Looking at the mystic energy surging in from all directions, which had already dyed the sky above the Sun family's main residence red, the hearts of those who understood the might of the Flame Dragon Storm sank, and an ominous premonition shrouded their hearts. They admitted that their opponent was very strong, but there was no need to use the extremely destructive mystic technique, Flame Dragon Storm. This was the Sun family's territory. Blood dripped from the hearts of the Sun family's ancestors when they thought of this. However, the Flame Dragon Storm was already being activated in an irresistible manner, so all they could do was minimize the losses. Unfortunately, wishes were beautiful, but reality was cruel. Although they wanted to protect the main residents of the Sun family and disperse the clansmen of the Sun family, they were firmly entangled by Fengde and the others and couldn't do anything. The ancestors of the Sun family were angry. The situation in front of them was becoming more and more critical, but they couldn't escape. However, as the saying goes, bystanders see better. They were in the battlefield, so they didn't realize that Fengde and the others didn't use their full strength when fighting with them. Otherwise, these people would have probably died long ago. Fengde and the others had the same thoughts as Lung Ruoxue. They wouldn't let these people die too quickly. Fengde and the others saw that their opponents were distracted and were a little anxious to get rid of them. And they knew in their hearts that the power of this Flame Dragon Storm was probably not trivial. However, they were not afraid. Anyway, this was not their territory, hee. Fengde and the others continued to fight their opponents. On the other side, the burly man's Flame Dragon Storm was already ready to attack. It was almost done. The burly man felt the abundant fire attribute mystic energy in his hand, and was overjoyed. He was very confident in this sure-kill technique of his. He believed that Flame Dragon Storm could definitely destroy Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue, who was standing opposite him, was also filled with anticipation for this technique and added another layer of defense to herself. The Flame Dragon Storm was released from the burly man's hand with the force of breaking bamboo. Immediately, a huge fire dragon burning with raging flames pounced directly at Lung Ruoxue with bared fangs and brandished claws, and a huge explosion happened in front of the water curtain. With a loud bang, the entire sky of the Sun family's main residence was filled with flames in an instant. The exploding fire dragons dyed the sky red, and the temperature was scorching hot. The power of this fire dragon explosion was indeed extraordinary. It was at least dozens of times stronger than the fire dragon flame just now. Therefore, Lung Ruoxue, who was mentally prepared, immediately teleported away from the range of the explosion after the explosion. However, she was still affected by the explosion wave, and suffered considerable internal injuries. Her water curtain was also shattered by the fire dragon explosion. However, the elders of the Sun family were even more unlucky. As they were tied up too tightly and were starving to death and weak all over, they were unable to escape at all. Moreover, they were piled in the middle of the yard by Fengde and the others, and they were in the middle of the explosion. Therefore, after the violent explosion, they were the first to bear the brunt. In just a breath, the elders of the Sun family were turned to ashes by the scorching high temperature. Alas! The poor elders of the Sun family probably never dreamed that they would die in the hands of their ancestor, even though they clearly found helpers to save their lives. The Sun family's main residence had also turned into ruins because of this big explosion. Many of the Sun family members who were unprepared and had been hiding in the corners had also become sacrifices for this explosion, and were buried with the Sun family's main residence. As for the burly man who launched the Flame Dragon Storm, it wasn't much better because not only did he use up all his profound strength during the Flame Dragon Storm, he was even heavily injured by the backlash of the profound technique. At the same time, he was affected by the explosion. In short, the gain simply didn't make up for the losses. Fengde and the others immediately teleported out of the range of the explosion after the explosion. However, the power of this explosion was too great, so they were also attacked by the aftermath of the explosion. Fortunately, their injuries were not serious. After all, they were farther away from the center of the explosion than Lung Ruoxue. Their opponents, because they hoped to save a few elders of the Sun family, were unable to escape the explosion in time, so their injuries were not light. After the explosion, the Sun family either died or were injured. They suffered heavy losses. After hearing the explosion, Sunzhou City's citizens were also attracted. However, no one dared to get too close, afraid that they would become cannon fodder. "Schwer, are your injuries serious?" In the air, the freak hugged Lung Ruoxue tightly and asked worriedly. "I'm fine." Lung Ruoxue wiped the blood off her lips, and then took out a pill from her bracelet and put it in her mouth. Alas! The power of this flame dragon storm was indeed extraordinary. She felt that her reaction speed was already fast enough, but she was still injured. However, her heart was filled with warmth when she saw the freak's worried expression. "Miss!" At this moment, Feng De and the others also gathered beside Lung Ruoxue and looked at her worriedly. "Don't worry, I'm fine," Lung Ruoxue explained. "Are your injuries serious?" Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. "Miss, we're fine," Feng De said immediately. They were only lightly injured, and they had all eaten pills, so their injuries were already healed. "That's good." Lung Ruoxue was relieved. Then she turned her gaze to the dumbfounded ancestors of the Sun family and said, "The power of Flame Dragon Storm is indeed strong. Well, the entire Sun family is destroyed." "Damn it, shut up." The burly man's depressed heart became even more annoyed and depressed when he heard Lung Ruoxue's words. Moreover, what made him even angrier was that not only did his sure-kill technique not kill the wretched girl in front of him, it even destroyed the entire Sun family. How could he accept this? Chapter 834. A Rare Sparring Partner. 1. "Damn girl, I'm going to kill you," the burly man roared. He forced his exhausted body to pounce at Lung Ruoxue, but he lost his balance and fell onto a pile of ruins with a plop. "You can't kill me like this, right?" Lung Ruoxue reminded with a naughty smile. Well, since they were enemies, she naturally had to hit him while he was down. After all, she was not a soft-hearted person. She would definitely do something like hitting a drowning dog. "You!" The burly man was furious, but he also knew that Lung Ruoxue was telling the truth. He really couldn't kill her with his current appearance. The burly man's heart was bleeding as he looked at the ruins in front of him, and he was in a daze. How could this be? Why was the Sun family destroyed in his hands? How could he explain it to the Sun family's Lai Zhu sect? He was a sinner of the Sun family. Thinking of this, his large palm suddenly struck the top of his head to apologize with death. Third brother. Third brother. Roars of anger and despair echoed in a radius of 50 kilometers around the Sun family. "What a close brotherhood," Feng De said mockingly. His voice sounded so out of place amidst the angry roar. "Lung Ruoxue, our Sun family won't let you go." One of the elders of the Sun family roared at the top of his lungs. This time, what they thought would be a piece of cake happened in such a dramatic manner. Lung Ruoxue and the others were only injured, but countless elders and clansmen of the Sun family were dead or injured. Although they were not the ones who released the flame dragon storm, they could not escape the blame for such a major change in the Sun family. Thinking of this, the elders of the Sun family who were heavily injured, looked at each other and attacked Lung Ruoxue with the determination to die. Sensing the suicidal attacks of the Sun family's ancestors, Feng De and the others immediately went forward without retreating. "Be careful." Lung Ruoxue stood by the side and reminded them. With such an unexpected change in the Sun family, these old men could not accept this fact. They naturally became the punching bags of the Sun family's ancestors. However, they were not pushovers. Lung Ruoxue didn't care about them even if they weren't injured, let alone a few old men with serious injuries. However, these old men were all determined to die, so their attacks were ruthless and fierce. Moreover, they had the intention of perishing with the other party, and every move they made was fatal. Not only that, all of their sure-win tactics were secretly brewing. Lung Ruoxue, who was watching the battle, felt the abnormal flow of spiritual energy in the air. Her heart tightened. Damn it! Were these old men crazy? Could it be that they all wanted to use their sure-win tactics? Thinking of this, Lung Ruoxua hurriedly shouted at the people in the battle. Fengde, finish this quickly. If she really let these old things activate her sure-win tactics, the entire Sunzhou city would probably be destroyed. She didn't want to die with these old fellows from the Sun family. After hearing Lung Ruoxia's words, Fengde and the others, who had been casually teasing the Sun family's old ancestors, became extremely alert. They attacked the Sun family's old ancestor who was fighting them from multiple sides. The mystic techniques in their hands kept bombarding their opponents, destroying the mystic energy they were condensing, and interrupting their crazy plan. Lung Ruoxua, the Sun family will drag you down with them. A despairing gaze appeared in the eyes of an elder. Then his body expanded. In the blink of an eye, his body blew up like a balloon. Hurry up and dodge, he's going to self-destruct. Lung Ruoxua hurriedly reminded. A mystic supremacy self-destructing was not a joke. Moreover, the power of self-destruction was not any weaker than a sure-kill technique, and they did not even need to condense mystic energy. However, no one would choose to self-destruct if they did not want to die with the other party. After all, if they could kill the other party with a sure-kill technique, they could at least have a life. However, self-destruction was quite a thorough death, and they could not even leave a trace of divine sense. At the same time as Lung Ruoxua reminded them, Fengde and the others also realized that they wanted to self-destruct, so they left the battle circle without hesitation. Well, the Sun family was suicidal. They hadn't lived long enough. Bang, bang, bang. Several loud bangs sounded at the same time as Fengde and the others teleported. The ancestors of the Sun family exploded one after another, as if they were relieving themselves. Lung Ruoxua saw that the situation was bad, so with a thought, she brought everyone into her bracelet. What a joke. If a mystic supremacy self-destructed, they would probably be fine as long as they stayed away and put up a defense. However, with so many mystic supremacies self-destructing, it was unknown if Sun Zhouqing could survive. Therefore, Lung Ruoxua didn't dare to risk the lives of her own people. After entering the bracelet, Lung Ruoxua and the others had been observing the situation outside. Thus, the consequences of the self-destruction were basically within their expectations. After the self-destructive yuan dissipated, Lung Ruoxua and the others took out their bracelets. Now, all the buildings in Sunzhou City had collapsed except for the city walls that remained standing. Moreover, countless citizens in the city had died. At least, they didn't see anyone alive around them now. I've finally witnessed the power of a mystic supremacy's self-destruction today. Fengde was a little speechless as he said, "Oh. If they used their sure-win tactic heavenly technique, it would probably not be much. Yes, consider yourself lucky. Such a scene isn't easy to see," the little old man said emotionally. Sigh. A good main city was destroyed just like that. Even though the Sun family deserved to die, the citizens who were buried in the city were innocent. The so-called ancestors of the Sun family had never thought about the serious consequences their decision would cause to the citizens with low cultivation when they self-destructed. Therefore, in essence, the Sun family was selfish. However, the Sun family could be considered to have been destroyed by their own people. Moreover, the matter with the Sun family was not over. Last, these people who self-destruct can only be considered a drop in the ocean to the ancestors of the Sun family, so let's make plans early. I believe they will arrive soon. The little old man reminded. There was a signal from the Sun family's ancestor before he self-destructed, so he was very sure that the Sun family's cultivation ground was probably in chaos now. It wouldn't be long before the other ancestors of the Sun family would arrive. Chapter 835. A rare sparring partner too. Grandpa Do, they're already here, Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. With such an intense explosion happening in Sunzhou City, these people would rush over to investigate, even if no one sent a letter. Now they should be all out. Moreover, they were less than 1,000 meters away. Who destroyed our Sunzhou City? A lion's roar entered Lung Ruoxua. and the others' ears before they arrived. Moreover, the roar carried a shocking pressure that caused Fengde and the others who hadn't advanced to mystic supremacy to be dazed. Lung Ruoxue stored Fengde and the others into her bracelet. Alas! These people were not ordinary mystic supremacies, so the battle was no longer something they could participate in. Last, did you destroy our Sunzhou city? Nearly 100 mystic supremacies stood about 10 meters away from Lung Ruoxue and the others and questioned angrily. No, Lung Ruoxue asked calmly. They really didn't destroy Sunzhou city. Although these mystic supremacies gave people a lot of pressure, she wouldn't panic and retreat before the battle. She wanted to know how big the difference between her and these mystic supremacies was. After all, it wasn't easy to find an opponent who would do his best. Lass, how dare you quibble in front of me? You obviously destroyed the foundation of our Sun family for tens of thousands of years. Today, all of you will be buried with the Sun family, the leading old man said with a ruthless expression, his shrewd eyes staring at Lung Ruoxue. These people will all die. Old man Sun Zhoucheng was obviously destroyed by the Sun family. As a member of the Sun family, you should know the aura of your own clansmen well, right? But you insisted on blaming us. Well, this is a show of shirking your responsibility. Lung Ruoxue mocked lightly, her beautiful eyes full of sarcasm. Damn girl, don't think I'll let you go even if you tell me the truth today. Our Sunzhou city is destroyed, and you can forget about leaving alive, the old man said fiercely. Is that so? Old man, are all the Sun family here? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. Well, it was better to confirm it. With Sun Zhoucheng destroyed, those clansmen who had escaped from the Sun family's main residence would probably not be able to escape. However, if this old man brought all the elders of the Sun family here, it would save her a lot of trouble. Since this old man wanted to kill them, she naturally wanted to eliminate them at the root. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL, D0TC0M. Of course you'll definitely die today, the old man said very confidently. It was just a little girl. He didn't care about her. Moreover, he was very sure that even if this damn girl's methods were outstanding, she would only die in front of them. Then I'm relieved, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Don't worry about what? We won't let you guys die too happily, the old man reminded. Thinking about how their Sun family had dominated the vast Heaven continent for tens of thousands of years, their Sun family's history in the vast Heaven continent was even longer than the Lung family's. But now, the Sun family was destroyed in the hands of a little girl. How could he not hate this? Each other. Lung Ruoxue agreed. This old man wanted to kill her, but how could she not want to kill these people in front of her? She did not like to leave trouble for herself, so unless an accident happened, she would not be soft-hearted. Looks like this old man really hasn't walked around the boundless Heaven continent for a long time. To think that there's actually such an arrogant wretched girl like you. Today, this old man will let you see what's called a true powerhouse. The old man narrowed his eyes. At the same time as he spoke, he didn't forget to release his pressure. However, he quickly noticed that the little girl before him was actually able to remain calm and composed under his pressure. After all, the pressure he released now was only targeted at this damn girl, so it was countless times stronger than before. However, it seemed to be useless against her. Damn girl, tell me your name, the old man said angrily. It seemed that this damn girl had some skills. He had really underestimated her just now. Lung Ruoxue, old man, what about you? Lung Ruoxue asked after introducing herself. How can you know my name? The old man said unhappily with a stern face. Old man, could it be that your name is grandson? Lung Ruoxue asked angrily. Just now, Empty sent her a voice transmission saying that there was a very senior ancestor in the Sun family named Grandson. She almost burst out laughing when she heard that. Damn it, you're the grandson. My surname is Sun, and my name is Ji. I'm not a grandson, 1 inch, the old man roared angrily. Damn it, his name had angered him a lot. Now, his name had become the grandson of a little girl. How could someone so proud bear humiliation? Same. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Same my ass. Damn girl, you're dead meat today. Sunji said angrily. Then he directly pushed out a palm. The palm wind carried a gust of cold air as it pounced at Lung Ruoxiu. Grandson, the battle is about to begin? You don't know how to respect your elders. Lung Ruoxiu's beautiful face was full of disappointment as she spoke. Her beautiful eyes were filled with provocation. However, she didn't dare to lower her guard against this old man's attack. However, she didn't use her full strength. It could be said that everything was probing. Damn girl, take another move of mine. Sunji didn't care at all when he saw that Lung Ruoxiu easily dodged his first attack. After all, someone who could force the experts of his Sun family to self-destruct was definitely not a superficial embroidered pillow. And he had only used 30% of his strength in that move just now. Stinky old man, it's my turn to make a move this time. Lung Ruoxiu said with a light smile. Then she released the meteor shower without hesitation. Haha. Lass, is that all you've got? You actually want to use the meteor shower to deal with a mystic supremacy. You really overestimate your capabilities. Sunji was a mystic with the water attribute as the main attribute, so he naturally knew the power of the meteor shower. Therefore, he didn't take Lung Ruoxiu's attack seriously at all. However, when the tens of thousands of raindrops approached him, he deeply felt that this meteor shower was abnormal. Could this still be considered a meteor shower? Even though he was a mystic supremacy, he could not guarantee that it would be so powerful if he launched the meteor rain. If it were an ordinary mystic supremacy in today's battle, this meteor rain would probably injure him even if it could not kill his opponent. Thinking of this, he became even more serious about this battle that seemed to have a great disparity in strength. Chapter 836. A Rare Sparring Partner 3. Sunji raised his hand slightly, and a light blue curtain wall blocked in front of him. Even though most of the raindrops approaching him had been blocked, a small number of fish still slipped through the curtain wall and hit him. The raindrops hit his body. Outsiders might think that they only wet his clothes, but only Sunji knew how painful the sharp raindrops were when they hit his body. Stinky old man, is it cool? Lung Ruoxiu blinked and asked. Damn girl, from this moment onwards, I will let you enjoy the highest treatment of your opponent. Sunji said very seriously. What he was trying to convey was that he was going to use his full strength. I'm looking forward to it, Lung Ruoxiu said. Well, this old man should be the strongest among the opponents she had encountered. It was very rare to be able to fight with such an expert, so she would definitely do her best. At the same time, the ancestors of the Sun family brought by Sunji found their opponents when they saw Sunji attack. However, the battle situation happened to change this time. In the previous battle, because Fengde and the others were involved, they had the absolute advantage in numbers. They were basically fighting in groups, but now they were fighting in groups. None of you will live today. The two mystic supremacies glared at Chengwu and said fiercely. Oh, underestimating your enemy is a big taboo in battle. Chengwu reminded kindly. There were not many opportunities to fight two mystic supremacies at the same time, so not only was he not afraid, but his fighting spirit was also high. You're dead meat, the two elders of the Sun family said. Then they looked at each other and attacked at the same time. In an instant, two streams of mystic energy were like two dragons rushing out of the sea, carrying shocking power as they flew towards Chengwu at the same time. Two dragons with gathered mystic energy, one wind and one dark. Even though they attacked at the same time, wind attribute mystic techniques had always been proficient in speed. Therefore, the wind attribute flood dragon quickly became the vanguard and ran at the front, while the dark attribute flood dragon followed closely behind. Chengwu did not panic as he looked at the two profound energy dragons that were right in front of him, one in front and one behind, rushing towards him. His figure even moved quickly. Moreover, he easily dodged the wind attribute dragon's attack. However, he was unable to dodge the dark attribute dragon that followed closely behind. Therefore, he was still injured. Dark attribute mystic energy had a certain degree of corrosion, so even though Chengwu's injuries were not very serious, the injuries spread in the blink of an eye. Chengwu did not dare to slack off. He quickly took out a pill and threw it into his mouth. At the same time, he summoned his beasts. The two ancestors of the Sun family looked at the fire phoenix and the dragon that suddenly appeared in front of them, and their hearts sank. They secretly cursed. Damn, where did this freak come from? There was actually a dragon and phoenix as contract beasts. This time, it was impossible for them to summon their beasts to help even if they wanted to because their beasts were helpless in front of the dragon and phoenix. Even if they were of the same level, the bloodline pressure of the dragon and phoenix was not something ordinary beasts could withstand. After Chengwu's beast came out, it immediately changed the situation on the battlefield. With the addition of Long and Feng, the battle also went from 1 against 2 to 3 against 2. However, Chengwu didn't intend to bully them with numbers. Instead, he instructed his beast to hold back one of the mystic supremacies while he sparred with the other. After all, the opponent before him was a famous mystic supremacy for many years. His strength was on a completely different level compared to ordinary mystic supremacies, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. The others had the same thoughts as Chengwu. After summoning their beasts to restrain the other mystic supremacies, they could focus on dealing with one person. Damn girl, you really surprise me. Sun Ji couldn't help saying enviously when he saw the battle situation of the others from the corner of his eye. After being in seclusion for many years, even though he was no longer as supportive of the current situation in the vast heaven continent as before, he was also very clear that dragons and phoenixes would not casually acknowledge others as their masters. However, everything in front of him shattered his assumption. Therefore, he really wanted to know who these people were. Who did the Sun family provoke that actually caused a family extermination? Unfortunately, he was destined to not receive this answer. Old man, I'm also very satisfied with you, Lung Ruoxua said politely. It wasn't easy to find a good sparring partner. Damn girl, even though I admire you, I can't let you go. Sun Ji's voice turned cold as he glared at her. I don't need you to let me go. You might be stronger than me, but you can't kill me, and I can kill you. Lung Ruoxua said confidently. The two of them had fought for dozens of rounds. Even though she was at a slight disadvantage, the old man didn't gain any advantage. Moreover, this was under the circumstances that she didn't use the beast. However, she was almost familiar with this old man's moves now, so she didn't have the patience to continue pestering him. She planned to kill him after she was done with him. With a thought, Lung Ruoxua moved Fengzhan and the Black Python, who strongly requested to fight, out of the bracelet. Sun Ji Gang was about to say, "You arrogant wretched girl. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." However, before he could say this, he was stunned by the two beasts that suddenly appeared in front of him. The two beasts in front of him were both level 9 super beasts. One of the extremely huge fire phoenixes had unfathomable strength. As soon as it appeared, the temperature here immediately soared, grilled people until they were very uncomfortable. Moreover, that fire phoenix made him feel a trace of nervousness that he had never felt before. Old man, I won't bully you. I'll only use 2 beasts to fight you. Of course, for the sake of fairness, you can also summon 2 beasts. Lung Ruoxua reminded with a naughty smile. Damn girl you. Sun Ji was so angry that he couldn't say anything. Damn. He wanted to summon a beast, but where could he get 2 level 9 transcendent divine beasts? Did they really think that level 9 transcendent divine beasts were cabbages that could be found easily? Chapter 837. Lung Xiaoyu vs. Sun Tao 1. Moreover, even if he had a level 9 transcendent divine beast, he would probably be unable to retaliate under the bloodline pressure of the fire phoenix. Ooh. This was obviously bullying. Unless he had a level 9 transcendent divine beast dragon, no beast would be a match for this fire phoenix. Actually, I want to say that using 2 beastmen to deal with you is a little overreacting. Well, Big Blackie, go play with him first. Lung Ruoxua instructed. Yes, miss, the black python, which was the big black snake Lung Ruoxua mentioned, answered happily. Because miss already had little black, she could only be the big one. Ooh. Lass, you're biased. Fengzhan was displeased when it heard that the big black python would fight first. It came out to fight. It would not be able to take it if it only watched and didn't attack. Let Big Blackie practice first. There are very few human experts with such high strength in this world. Moreover, there are even fewer who will sincerely fight with us. Well, if you want to fight, there are still people over there. Lung Ruoxua comforted. All right. I'll look for other people to play with, Feng Zhan said after some thought. It would be happy as long as it fought. Therefore, it didn't matter who its opponent was. What was important was that it had to fight. It was best if its body was as strong as that old dragon's. After Feng Zhan finished speaking, he flew to the side of an old ancestor of the Sun family. At the same time, the Black Python and Sun Ji fought, and Lung Ruoxua became a spectator again. This fellow's body is too weak. I only touched it lightly. Why did it burn to ashes? Boo-hoo. Feng Zhan looked at his opponent who had already turned to ashes gloomily, his eyes filled with tears, feeling very wronged. Cheng Wu, who had just defeated his opponent, also looked at the old phoenix gloomily. He wanted to cry but had no tears. That was his opponent. He was played to death by this fierce old phoenix in an instant. Who could he find to reason with? Boo. Little guy, don't be sad. Isn't there someone else? Feng Zhan looked at Cheng Wu, who was also depressed, and comforted him. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL, D0TC0M. Yes. Cheng Wu nodded. Then he turned his gaze to the others and looked at Feng Zhan before pouncing towards the others. With Feng Zhan joining the battle, the bodies of the Sun family's old ancestors were as blurry as paper. They basically died instantly. This time, Song Di and the others were all depressed. Boo. This old phoenix was too powerful and ruthless. He only used a few minutes to destroy all their sparring partners. He was too much. After Cheng Wu and the others reluctantly ended the battle, they came to Lung Ruoxua's side and watched the battle with her. They couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Well, as expected of the strongest person in the Sun family, this old man had endured many beatings. Little Black Snake, do you need my help? The old phoenix, who had not had enough fun, said with a smile. At this moment, the other beasts had already been stored into the beast space by their respective masters, so only Lung Ruoxua's two beasts were left on the entire battlefield. Therefore, Feng Zhan felt that they should be united, loving, and helping each other. There's no need. I can handle it. The black python's forehead dripped with 2 drops of cold sweat as it said helplessly. Boo. This old man is better at taking beatings, Feng Zhan sighed. He even pretended to wipe his tears and pretended to be sad. Damn it, I'm going to kill you. Sun Ji was tightly entangled by the black python. Hearing their conversation and being surrounded by Lung Ruoxua and the others, the anger and hatred in his heart had long surged uncontrollably. He knew that the other ancestors from the Sun family were already dead. He hated them. He really wanted to eat their meat, drink their blood, and cut them into pieces. Otherwise, it would be difficult to vent the hatred in his heart. He also knew that as long as the Green Hills remain, there was hope. However, he was alone now. I won't let you have an easy time even if I die. Sun Ji swore in his heart. I'll bite you guys hard even if I die. Thinking of this, he decided to self-destruct. However, the black python didn't give him any chance to self-destruct. After seeing through Sun Ji's intentions, it used its thick snake tail to tightly bind Sun Ji. Do you want to self-destruct? Dream on. The black python tightened its grip, and Sun Ji, who was in it, bit his lower lip until it broke. In all his years of life, he had never hated Lung Ruoxua and the others so much as now. He hated this big black python even more. It actually wanted to take away his chance to self-destruct. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Finally, he couldn't take a breath and was angered to death. Oh, why isn't there any reaction? The black python blinked its big innocent eyes and asked in puzzlement. This old man was struggling with all his might just now. Why did he give up so quickly? He's dead, Feng Zhan reminded. That old man's life was already gone. How is that possible? I didn't use too much strength. The black python was very depressed. Boo. This had nothing to do with it. Little Black Snake, could it be that you doubt my judgment? Feng Zhan glared and said with slight dissatisfaction. I don't dare. But I really didn't use any strength. The black python was extremely aggrieved, and tears were already welling up in its eyes. He's angry to death, Lung Ruoxue said understandingly. Ah, isn't he too angry? Oh, he's not pretending to be dead, is he? The black python said doubtfully. Then its tail released Sun Ji, who was tightly held by it. It looked at Sun Ji, who had been thrown to the ground, for a long time. It was still a little worried, so it raised its thick snake tail high, planning to cause another accident. Hee. Caution always pays off. The Sun family was famous for their cunning nature. However, just as it lowered its snake tail, a loud shout suddenly sounded in their ears. Vile beast! How dare you! Immediately after, a terrifying mystic power hit its thick snake tail, making the black python cry from the pain. Boo! It hurts. The black python looked at its snake tail that was already torn apart, and then looked at the unfathomably powerful man who had suddenly appeared in midair. The anger in its heart burned limitlessly. It didn't like to be threatened after being with Miss for a long time. So it ignored the man in front of it and fiercely dropped its tail from the sky. It then pressed Sun Ji, who was lying on the ground and had long been angered to death, into pulp. Chapter 838. Lung Xiaoyu vs. Sun Tao 2. Bastard, I'll kill you. The man couldn't help but be furious when he saw the Sun clan member being killed by a snake in front of him. Of course, he didn't know that Sun Ji had been angered to death before he arrived. Who's afraid of you? The black python said disdainfully. Even though this man's strength was unfathomable, it had so many helpers. How could it be afraid of a human? Therefore, it did not take the man's threat to heart. Good. Looks like I haven't fought in the boundless heaven continent for a long time. A small snake even dares to be arrogant in front of me. Beast, hand over your life. The man attacked as soon as he said that. At the same time, a light blue mystic energy headed straight for the black python's 7 inches, planning to kill it in one move. This mystic power was too fast. Everyone could not save him even if they wanted to. Lung Ruoxue quickly stored the black python into her bracelet. The man's mystic energy missed and hit the ruins directly. Apart from Lung Ruoxue, all of you will die with our Sun family. The man vented all his anger on Cheng Wu and the others, seeing that he didn't hit the black python. Do you know me? Lung Ruoxue looked up at the man floating in the air and asked lightly. The man in the air was very handsome and had unfathomable strength. However, he gave people a very gloomy feeling. Moreover, his eyes that looked at Lung Ruoxue emitted a different kind of brilliance. The man looked at Lung Ruoxue carefully, feeling increasingly satisfied. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL, D0T, C0M. She was even more beautiful than the portrait. Well, to be precise, the portrait did not express all of Lung Ruoxue's beauty. Apart from her breathtaking beauty, there was no way to show her extraordinary temperament. In short, he wanted this woman for sure, and she could only be his. What do you think? The man asked instead of answering. His eyes could not help but reveal a trace of obsession. How would I know? Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Aren't you curious how I know you? The man asked while suppressing his anger. He had never been completely ignored by a woman like today. No. Lung Ruoxue was very calm. She didn't know who this man was from the Sun family. The man was speechless. In front of Lung Ruoxue, he felt a sense of helplessness he had never felt before. Did you just say that everyone except me has to die? Lung Ruoxue asked with an unfriendly tone. Yes. The man nodded. They are all my relatives and subordinates. If you want to kill them, you have to die. Lung Ruoxue said very seriously. Are you threatening me? The man narrowed his eyes and said unhappily. This woman ignored him just now and actually threatened him now. She was really too disobedient. Everyone knew that he liked obedient women the most. However, it seemed like he would have a greater sense of accomplishment to train a little wild cat into a family cat. It's not a threat, it's just the truth. Lung Ruoxue lightly smiled. Her smile was like 100 flowers blooming, so beautiful that the world lost its color. Whether it's a threat or the truth, They will all die except for you. The man looked at Lung Ruoxia's smile in amazement, and only came back to his senses after a long time. Then let's try. However, do you think you can beat so many of us alone? Lung Ruoxia said nonchalantly. These people are just ants in my eyes. I only need a finger to destroy them, the man said confidently. Don't say it too early. However, I'm very curious. Can you use strength above mystic supremacy in this world? Lung Ruoxia smiled sweetly. Earlier, Wu Tian had sent a voice transmission to her, saying that this man didn't belong to this world. Therefore, even though this man was very strong, he probably couldn't use his full strength with the restrictions of the heaven-earth law. You know quite a lot. I'm even more satisfied with you now, the man said with a smile. He had always thought that women shouldn't be too smart, but Lung Ruoxia was an exception. But I'm not satisfied with you. I hate the Sun family. By the way, Sunzhou City was destroyed by the so-called ancestors of the Sun family. Lung Ruoxia's tone was very cold, and the disgust on her face was unconcealed. You will be satisfied with me when you become my woman. As for Sun Zhoucheng, someone will naturally accompany him to the grave. The man was very confident. Are the Sun family all so self-righteous? Let me give you a piece of advice. Be realistic and stop dreaming. Lung Ruoxia was a little speechless. She really didn't know what the brains of the Sun family were like. Why did they do things differently from others when they said it? Schwer is my woman. Don't even think about hitting on her. At this moment, the freak also said coldly, damn it, did she think he was a dead person? She actually dared to tease his woman in front of him. She was really tired of living. I like this woman, the man said domineeringly, not taking the freak seriously at all. You're courting death. The freak was furious. He was about to go forward and teach that shameless man a lesson when he was stopped by Schwer. Why be angry with him because of this? It's not worth it, Lung Ruoxia said with a light smile. She didn't want the freak to attack alone. Moreover, she could already tell that the old ancestor that the Sun family had designs on her was most likely him. However, the Sun family didn't exist anymore. It was just an old ancestor, so what was there to be afraid of? Moreover, he couldn't display his true strength in this world, so it shouldn't be difficult for them to destroy him. Yes, Schwer is right. In the freak's eyes, this man was already a dead man. It was indeed not worth it to be angry with a dead man. What? You don't intend to attack? Didn't you say that I'm courting death? The man provoked when he saw that the freak wasn't angry. You're courting death. Moreover, you'll definitely die. The freak promised. Is that so? Then let's see who dies first. Anyway, Lung Ruoxia is mine for sure. Hee. The taste of dual cultivation with her will definitely be very good. The man provoked, his words full of teasing. In your dreams, the freak said angrily. Then black mystic energy was released from his hand. Chapter 839. Lung Xiaoyu vs. Sun Tao 3. Everyone attack together and beat him up. Lung Ruoxia ordered at the same time. Yes. Cheng Wu and the others were excited after receiving Lung Ruoxia's order. They could also tell that this man's strength was extraordinary, so they were excited. Lung Ruoxia, are you planning to kill your husband? The man continued to tease fearlessly as he looked at Cheng Wu and the others who surrounded him. Biological husband? My biological husband isn't you. Lung Ruoxia said honestly. Unfortunately, she had overestimated the thick skin of the man in front of her. I will when I kill them, the man said. You want to have designs on my young miss? You're really a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Cheng Wu said with a face full of contempt. Then he released the mystic energy in his hand. Haha, he looks quite like a toad. Song Di laughed hysterically and then threw out his mystic technique with everyone else. In an instant, multicolored mystic energy danced in the air. Red fire, blue water, green wind, black dark, and yellow earth intertwined to form a dazzling landscape painting that illuminated the sky. The man did not feel any panic when he saw many mystic energy rushing at him. After adding a defense to himself, he began his counterattack. The man's mystic energy was mainly of the water attribute, and a thick water dragon was released from his hand. The water dragon roared and bared its fangs as it pounced at the freak. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL D0T C0M. Seeing this, the freak hurriedly released more darkness attribute mystic energy, condensing it into a black dragon that fought the water dragon. Cheng Wu and the others also supported the freak one after another, each using their mystic techniques to pounce on the water dragon. After all, the man's strength was unfathomable, and the water dragon he released was not something ordinary mystic energy could compare to. The water dragon, which was being beaten up by many mystic techniques, was furious. It glared at the black dragon with its blurry eyes. Obviously, in its eyes, only this dragon condensed from black mystic energy was its opponent, and it didn't care about anything else. However, it didn't feel good to be stared at like a tiger watching its prey. Therefore, its thick dragon body split into several smaller clones that pounced at the other opponents. Its main opponent was the black mystic energy dragon. The two mystic energy dragons glared at each other for a while before entangling again. They fought until the sky darkened. At the beginning, the huge dragon formed by black mystic energy still had the strength to fight against the water dragon. The two dragons were locked in a fierce battle, unable to decide the winner. However, when the water dragon's clone completed the mission and gathered with the water dragon again, the black dragon gradually fell into a disadvantage. Miss, this person is so powerful. Cheng Wu wiped away the blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth and exclaimed. He had lost the mystic energy battle just now, so he suffered some injuries. However, his injuries immediately recovered after eating the pill. Amen. Lung Ruoxia nodded, her eyes tightly staring at the black and blue profound power dragons in the battle. She knew that the battle between the two dragons was also a battle between the freak and the man, which was also the so-called battle between men. So, even though she wanted to help the freak, she didn't attack. Suddenly, under the attack of the powerful water dragon, the black mystic energy dragon was blasted into pieces and slowly disappeared into the sky. Freak! The black profound energy dragon's death caused a backlash on the freak's body. Lung Ruoxia's heart ached when she saw him spit out a mouthful of blood. She hurriedly supported his tottering body, took out another pill, and placed it in his mouth, wiping the blood off his lips. I'm fine, the freak said soothingly. The freak's starry eyes stared intently at the man opposite him. He knew that there was a difference in strength between him and this man now, but it was not so easy for this man to defeat him. In the battle just now, this man might have won, but he must be very depressed. Humph. If it was the old him, killing this man would be as easy as crushing an ant. Alas! This damn body. It was really too weak. You lost, the man reminded, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Damn it, he actually couldn't kill him. Winning or losing once doesn't mean anything. Schwer can only be mine unless I die. The freak smiled. Then die. The man was furious and released two water dragons of the same size at the same time. The two water dragons roared, bared their teeth, and aggressively circled in the air a few times before pouncing in the direction of the freak with anger. The freak was about to retaliate when he was stopped by Schwer. Let me do it. You are my man, and you should be protected by me. Let me try the power of these two water dragons. Lung Ruoxia's will was firm, and she didn't allow the freak to refuse. Okay. The freak was very happy. Schwer's words made him nearly burst with joy. After Lung Ruoxia finished speaking, she also used her mystic energy to condense two majestic water dragons, and intertwined with the two threatening water dragons in the sky. Humph. How dare a man like you let a woman protect you? The man said with jealousy, his angry eyes about to spew fire. What's there to be embarrassed about? A man who can be protected by his woman is bliss. You can't be jealous, the freak said proudly. Don't be too smug too early. You're dead meat today. The man narrowed his eyes and roared enviously at the freak as he controlled the water dragon with his mind. Sun Tao, you're really becoming more and more promising. You actually dare to strut around in front of the younger generation. A somewhat cold voice suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. Who is it? Come out. The man immediately lost his composure when he heard that it was someone who knew him. Why did this voice sound so familiar? What? You can't even recognize your old friend's voice? The voice said mockingly. Then, two incomparably handsome young men appeared in midair. Lung Xiaoyu, why are you and your grandchildren here? The man named Sun Tao was shocked. He had a bad premonition. Chapter 840. Lung Xiaoyu vs. Sun Tao 4. You can be here, why can't we be here? Lung Xiaoyu's handsome face was full of question marks. I'm talking about why are you in the vast heaven continent? Sun Tao could not help roaring. No reason. I come back when I want to. However, you're actually willing to come back, Lung Xiaoyu said in surprise. Humph. You don't have to care about my business. Sun Tao said irritably. He hated Lung Xiaoyu because they were natural enemies. In fact, to be precise, he had always treated Lung Xiaoyu as his greatest opponent. However, that damn fellow never took him seriously, and he would be unlucky every time he saw this man. I don't intend to care about you, but what you're doing now involves me, Lung Xiaoyu said with a smile. What do you mean? Sun Tao was puzzled. Little Shuer, stand down. Leave this dog to me. Lung Xiaoyu didn't answer Sun Tao's question, and instead instructed Lung Ruoxue directly. Okay. Lung Ruoxue was happy that someone was willing to fight instead. Moreover, she was indeed not Sun Tao's match at that moment. Therefore, after retracting her mystic energy, she retreated to the side and prepared to watch the battle. Well, this cheap old ancestor and Sun Tao should be evenly matched, so she was looking forward to their battle. Lung Xiaoyu, I took a fancy to this woman first. Do you want to snatch her from me? Sun Tao roared angrily. Damn it, he obviously had the chance to kill these people, but Lung Xiaoyu ran out and interrupted. So his hatred for Lung Xiaoyu deepened another level. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL, D0T, C0M. Do you think I'm a brainless guy like you? Little Shuer is my descendant. Lung Xiaoyu rolled his eyes and said speechlessly. He had known Sun Tao for many years and knew Sun Tao's character better than anyone else. However, it was Sun Tao's personal business if he liked women. He couldn't care less, but he couldn't have designs on his little Shuer. Your descendant? When did you have another descendant? Sun Tao didn't believe it. He felt that Lung Xiaoyu was lying to him because he had never seen any women around Lung Xiaoyu. What? Can't I have a few descendants just because you have a lot of descendants? However, your descendants combined can't compare to mine, Lung Xiaoyu said proudly. He might not have many descendants, but the quality was good. Unlike the Sun family, which was a group of trash. Lung Xiaoyu, you really deserve to die. Sun Tao was even angrier when he heard Lung Xiaoyu's words. Damn it, wasn't this rubbing salt on his wounds? Sunzhou City had turned into ruins now, and he didn't believe that Lung Xiaoyu couldn't see it. Ehe. I'm sorry for bringing up your sad story. You don't seem to have any descendants now. Damn it, don't seem to have survived. Lung Xiao gloated, adding oil to the fire. However, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Little Shuer was still the best. The Sun family was really played by her. Well, as expected of his bloodline. Lung Xiaoyu. Sun Tao was angry. The consequences were serious. Sun Tao commanded his 2 water dragons to fly towards Lung Xiaoyu aggressively. He couldn't bear to kill Lung Ruoxue, but he wouldn't pity a stinky man who always went against him. After Lung Ruoxue retracted her mystic energy and retreated, he didn't continue fighting, so these 2 water streams kept dancing in the air, waiting for his order. With a thought, the 2 water dragons immediately moved. Sun Tao, we haven't fought in a long time. Lung Xiaoyu chuckled. He also used his mystic energy to condense 2 dragons burning with flames and welcomed the 2 threatening water dragons. Lung Xiaoyu, you are definitely not my match now, Sun Tao said confidently. Is that so? Could it be that you have a good opportunity? Lung Xiaoyu guessed jokingly. Humph. Do you think I'll tell you? Sun Tao glared at Lung Xiaoyu. It doesn't matter. Lung Xiaoyu didn't care at all. The 2 of them bickered, and the huge dragon they condensed with mystic energy was also staring at each other like their master, wishing to glare a hole through the other party. There was a long pause. The 4 mystic energy dragons intertwined, And slowly, the water and fire attribute spiritual energy in the sky gradually became restless. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.